welcome to part 2 of Horror Fabricate Dark Myths to Frighten Evil Gods. Before going any further, I would like to notify you of a new fanfiction series inspired by popular anime, One Piece, so stay tuned. Also urge you to like, subscribe and share this video. Now let's move on to
Chapter 26. Yuan was slightly taken aback. Immediately there was a chill in my heart. From Gue Sujin's words, he smelled something unusual. Originally, I thought that Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing were just some kind of weird existence relying on the Drum Tower Theater. It's part of a ghost show. But look now, that doesn't seem to be the case. Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing came from a mysterious place. There may be a huge secret hidden there. The other side? Yuan muttered to himself. Keep this noun in mind. When the time is right, he will definitely go to this place for a walk. Immediately afterwards, Yuan lowered his head and looked at the thing Gue Sujin left him. At first, he didn't see clearly, thinking it was a red handkerchief. But if you take a closer look, you will find that this is not a handkerchief, it is clearly a piece of human skin. I don't know how long it took to soak in the blood before it showed this weird scarlet hue. Other than that, there is no redundant information or symbols on the human skin paper. If I'm not mistaken, this blood-red man's skin should have something to do with the so-called other shore. Perhaps, only at the right time and the right place will the relevant information be revealed on the human skin, Yuan secretly guessed in his heart. Then carefully fold this piece of human skin paper and keep it close to your body. At the same time, the bloody screen of the horror game reappeared. Congratulations, you have successfully completed this ghost show, and you have been deeply recognized by Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing. The mission is completed. You will get everything you deserve. You have obtained the moss-covered stone pier of the 3-star weird puzzle. You got the blood-stained ghost boots, a 4-star cursed item. You have obtained a special badge of the famous actor of the Drum Tower Theater. You have obtained a special invitation to the Red Moon Feast. You got 2,000 tricks. Immediately afterwards, 5 objects of different shapes appeared in front of Yuan. A seemingly ordinary stone pier, a worn-out boot, an exquisite badge, a gilded red invitation card, and a thick stack of white paper money. Yuan didn't pay much attention to the stone pier and ghost boots. He already got the 5-star cursed props, the wacky wand, the stone pier, and the ghost boots, just icing on the cake. There is no need to say too much about the strange money. It must be a currency that can be traded with the strange. On the contrary, the badge and invitation letter seemed very unusual. Drum Tower Theater Celebrity Badge. Grade. Special item. No grade. Introduction. After a special ghost show, you have been recognized, and now you are already a popular ghost show star. Wearing this badge, you will become a distinguished guest of the Drum Tower Theater, and you can freely enter and exit most of the areas of the Drum Tower Theater without any strange attacks. Yuan frowned. He picked up the badge directly and pinned it to his chest. The feeling of rejection from the Drum Tower Theater disappeared immediately. Instead, there is a faint sense of intimacy and familiarity. It's like coming home. Without any exaggeration, Yuan has already become the half-owner of the Drum Tower Theater. This is undoubtedly good news for me. The most dangerous place that other human players can't avoid has become my comfort zone. I won't be attacked by weirdness here, but other humans and weird creatures don't have such benefits. If there is any crisis, then I may choose to hide in the Drum Tower Theater and get shelter here. Yuan's eyes lit up. He immediately thought of some magical uses of this badge. With the celebrity badge, the Drum Tower Theater will become a safe house that belongs only to him. Of course, this security is limited. Some areas of the Drum Tower Theater are still a forbidden area for him. After thinking for a moment, Yuan calmed down and looked at the bronzing invitation again. Invitation to the Red Moon Feast. Grade. Special item. No grade. Introduction. 6 days later, midnight is a special moment, and there will be an unparalleled feast at Tongda Hotel. With this invitation letter, you have the qualification to participate in that feast. But please consider carefully, once you step into this banquet, there is no turning back. Yuan frowned slightly. Red Moon Feast? This name sounds weird no matter how it sounds. You know, the reason why he will trigger the task of the Drum Tower Theater. That is because of seeing the truth of the red moon in the sky. It was an eyeball from a terrifying existence. Therefore, the 2 words, red moon, itself meant some kind of indescribable ominousness. There is definitely a big problem with this banquet named after the red moon. As for the banquet venue, Tongda Hotel. Like the Drum Tower Theater, it was one of the most dangerous places observed before. Is there some kind of special connection between the great evil places? Drum Tower Theater, Tongda Hotel, what is hidden behind these two? Gu Yuan whispered to himself, lost in thought. Whether he should go to Tongda Hotel or not, he still needs to think carefully. After all, this experience has made Gu Yuan fully aware of the danger of the place of great evil. One wrong step could risk your life. The Tongda Hotel must be dangerous and unpredictable. But then again, high risk, high reward. This time, Gu Yuan's harvest was also extremely rich. 4-star spooky jigsaw puzzle, Su Xiangui facial makeup. 4-star weird jigsaw puzzle, strange white paper umbrella. 5-star curse props, weird Buddhist staff. Human skin paper from Gue Sujin. 3-star weird jigsaw puzzle, stone pier covered with moss. 4-star curse props, bloody ghost boots. There are also badges of famous actors in the Drum Tower Theater and invitations to the Red Moon Feast. Any one of these things is enough to drive other human players crazy. But on Gu Yuan's side, it was pile after pile. This is the gap. Like a moat, insurmountable. Chapter 27. The Buddhist wand needs to be kept. It is the core material for the next myth fabrication. Human skin paper, celebrity badges, and invitations all have special uses. As for other things, let's use them to increase the horror of Nie Yan Luo. Gu Yuan pondered for a moment. That is, he directly fed the 4 weird things, Su Xinggui's face, white paper umbrella, stone pier, and ghost boots, to Nie Yan Luo. The reason why I chose Nie Yan Luo was not evil impermanence. Gu Yuan also had his own plans. The horror of impermanence is at the 4-star intermediate level. Even if it devours new weird things, it is impossible to break through the 4-star category. It can't bring a substantial improvement to Gu Yuan's strength. But Nie Yan Luo is different. He is already at the top 4-star level, and is only one step away from the brand new category of 5-star level. Concentrating resources to support him and pushing him to a higher level of terror is the best choice. On Nie Yan Luo's face, 5 blood-red eyes opened wide, emitting a terrifying red light. The 4 strange things were shrouded in this red light, and then there were some weird and absurd distortions. A trace of the strange aura, which is as real as it is, was plundered and devoured by Nie Yan Luo recklessly. Snapped. The stone pier hit the ground and fell to pieces. Facebook, white paper umbrellas, and ghost boots also fell to the ground, becoming decayed and dilapidated at a speed visible to the naked eye. After losing the strange power attached to it, they have all become the most ordinary objects, and the strange aura surging from Nie Yan Luo's body suddenly surged, filled with infinite coldness and indifference. On his face, the veins were bulging, and something unknown was wriggling and twisting. Then, there was a bang. The skin was broken, and black blood spurted out. For new blood-red eyeballs appeared on his cheeks, scanning the surroundings indifferently. In other words, the current Nie Yan Luo already has 9 dangerous eyes. At this moment, his level of terror has reached the level of a 5-star junior. Although it is only a small improvement, but this is actually a qualitative leap. As a mysterious creator, Gu Yuan could fully feel that Nie Yan Luo was dozens of times more terrifying than before. If he encountered Gue Fahai again now, he would not need the assistance of Gue Sujin and Gue Shaoqing at all. Nie Yan Luo alone can directly save the ghost Fahai. Wait, this doesn't seem to be the limit. After being promoted to a 5-star elementary school, Nie Yan Luo seems to have ghosts? Gu Yuan raised his eyebrows, and a stern light flashed in his eyes. Under Nie Yan Luo's feet, a strange darkness spread, swallowing all the surrounding light. This is the ultimate black, pure darkness. In the dark center, there is a looming building. It looks like a prison cell, and there is a distorted stone tablet in front of the door, with the word hell written on it. Exuding endless coercion, it seems to be able to imprison all sins. This made Gu Yuan immediately think of a word. 18 levels of hell. Certainly. Now the ghosts of Nie Yan Luo are still far from the 18th floor, and there is only one floor. But it's a direction. When creating Nie Yan Luo, Gu Yuan used a lot of pen and ink to describe his judgment person. This is tantamount to giving him a kind of lofty authority. But now, this piece of ghosts evolved by Nie Yan Luo is actually the embodiment of the judgment personality. With the gradual growth of Nie Yan Luo, sooner or later, the ghosts and creatures will be completed, and a true 18-story hell will be evolved. It even completely condenses the 18 layers of hell, descends into reality, and becomes the nightmare of countless strange creatures. Gazing at this gloomy ghost, in Gu Yuan's mind, an idea suddenly popped up. According to the power of the dark myth, I can synchronize all the powers of Nie Yan Luo. Since Nie Yan Luo can evolve into a ghost, maybe I can do it too. With this in mind, Yuan synchronized the power of Nie Yan Luo without hesitation. The endless strange breath washed over his body, twisting his flesh and blood. He also raised his own strength to a 5-star level, and beside him, a strange mist also quietly surged. Illusory, with one of the most primitive, mysterious, and essential implication. It was as if the universe had just been formed, and the world was initially finalized, chaotic, and ancient. Sure enough, I guessed correctly, this is my ghost creature. This mist is very similar to the chaotic gas in the mythical space, or in other words, this is that kind of chaotic gas. Then my ghost creature, just call it Chaos Ghost Creature. Yuan was a little excited. He tentatively manipulated the chaotic mist, eroding away towards the hell ghosts of Nie Yan Luo. It stands to reason that when ghosts collide, one of them will definitely retreat. But something strange happened. The hell ghosts were not forced to retreat. Instead, it was included by the chaotic ghost and seemed to become a part of the chaotic ghost. Some very strange and special fusion of the two occurred, formed a perfect symbiotic relationship. This is... Yuan frowned slightly. The bloody screen of the horror game appeared at this moment. You are such a genius. You actually touched the root of ghosts so quickly. As the creator of dark mythology, your chaotic ghosts symbolize the beginning of all things, the origin of all things, and are born to carry endless abnormalities. Nie Yan Luo is your creation, his ghost, which is essentially an extension of your ghost. Congratulations, you have opened a new door. This is your own path, and no one can imitate it. Hastily glanced at it, Yuan suddenly realized. He gets it. If it is said that his chaotic ghost is a towering tree, the hell ghost creature of Nie Yan Luo is actually a fruit on this tree. This is a source, and nature can achieve a perfect combination. And this fusion of multiple ghost creatures, without even thinking about it, is definitely much stronger than a single ghost creature. This is an architecture where 1 + 1 is far greater than 2. This is one of my whole cards. At the critical moment, I can realize the fusion of two different ghosts and creatures and erupt a horror far beyond imagination. Moreover, this direction has huge potential for development. Since I can fuse Nie Yan Luo's ghost creature, the evil and impermanent ghost creature can naturally also fuse. In that way, the triple ghost can be realized. The rest of the mythology after that was weird, too. This may be a process of infinite superposition. I can use the chaotic ghost creature as the foundation, and through layer-by-layer fusion, I can create an infinitely diverse dark mythical ghost creature. Yuan muttered to himself and analyzed quickly. His eyes also became brighter and brighter. He saw endless possibilities. Once this idea is completed, his future will reach an unmeasurable level of terror. Just like the bloody screen. This is unique to Yuan, and no one can imitate it. It is a great road that those high and indescribable people cannot achieve. Chapter 28. While Yuan was researching the possibility of ghost creatures, outside the theater, the stone lion is still guarding the door quietly. The weird paper figurines waited with trepidation. Before they got Yuan's order, they didn't dare to leave here even half a step. The human players supported each other and walked out in 2s and 3s. Everyone has lingering fears. The experience in the theater tonight will be a nightmare that they will never forget in their entire lives. And Yuan's illusory yet real figure will become a supreme symbol in their hearts. Yang Jin was walking on the road, stumbled. His steps were vain. There is a strange wound on the chest, which looks like a tooth mark. It had begun to turn black and took on a rotting shape. This is a strange attack in the theater. But he didn't care at all. His eyes were full of unspeakable joy. He survived after all. While walking, he turned on the World Channel. There have been a lot of replies to the post of last words left before. The landlord is finished. This time he must be dead. There are so many weird creatures. I am terrified just by looking at the photos. Rather than being torn apart by these weird creatures, I would rather commit suicide. You say, is the host still alive? Alive? What are you thinking? Is it possible to get out of that kind of place alive? Now the grass on the landlord's grave is estimated to be 3 feet high. That's right. That's the real murderous place. For us humans, it's a forbidden area. Brothers, remember the last words of the host. Don't get close to the Drum Tower Theater, or you will die. Looking at these comments, Yang Jin took a deep breath, then quickly edited a paragraph. Brothers, I'm alive. I survived from the Drum Tower Theater. There was a brief silence in the World Channel. It was as if he had been banned for an instant. Then the entire World Channel boiled instantly. Nest grass? Real or fake? There are so many strange creatures. How did the landlord escape? This is impossible. Those weird creatures are too fierce. Compared with them, we humans are too weak and will be easily torn apart by them. Yeah, with that kind of exaggerated and weird scale, even the safe zone established by the Department of Affairs will fall in an instant, and no one will survive at all. Is someone pretending to be the landlord? This is the chat area that comes with the horror game. Only the person can speak, and it is impossible to impersonate. So, the landlord really survived? How did you do it? Seek experience. Countless comments swiped the screen. All human players who saw this post were in deep shock. Yang Jian's survival far exceeded their imagination. Yang Jian licked his lips, and his fingers trembled a little, obviously in an extremely disturbed mood. This time I was lucky. I met a particularly awesome boss. I am a ghost show audience, and the boss is directly a ghost show actor. Not only did he marry Gue Suzhen, he even suppressed Gue Fahai. The weird creatures in the entire theater are all submissive, and none of them are out of control. If it wasn't for the boss's favor, I might really die here. Picture finally, Yang Jian put a picture. This is a photo he secretly took at the end of the ghost show. In the photo, Yuan stands at the core, with Nie Yan Luo and Wukong standing on both sides, exuding a gloomy chill. As for Gue Suzhen's eyes, a strange and blurred light flickered in her beautiful eyes, and she stuffed something like a red handkerchief into Yuan's hand. Other places in the photo are very clear and can be seen clearly. Only Yuan's face seemed to be covered with a layer of veil, and he couldn't see clearly at all. It seems that there is an inexplicable strange power that distorts cognition and blinds prying eyes. Hiss. Being able to sing a ghost show duet with strange creatures, this boss is not so fierce. It's terrible to live in a theater alone. Everyone is a human player. Why is he so good? I guess the boss should be an internal beta player who has entered the horror game a long time ago. He has developed for so long and has mastered a very powerful strange power. One thing to say, this Ghost Suzhen is really handsome, much better than those celebrities. Upstairs, wake up, that's the boss. So Gue Suzhen is obedient. If it were you, I'm afraid Gue Suzhen would have torn him to pieces. Look at the two monsters next to the boss. Just looking at the photos makes me feel a little chilly all over. There was a lot of discussion. The words are full of deep amazement. They couldn't imagine what kind of character it was that could tame Gue Suzhen, suppress Gue Fahai, and make the entire theater of weird creatures be silent. For a while, Fengqing Grand Theater Boss became the hottest topic on the World Channel. At the same time, in the distant sea city, in a gloomy house, a middle-aged man with a big belly and an open chest was leaning carelessly on a chair. There was a cold light as sharp as a falcon in his eyes. You should have seen the post on the World Channel. So tell me, what do you think? At the starting position, a tall and thin woman sneered. Isn't it just participating in a ghost show and deterring some low-level weird creatures? For those newcomers, it may be very shocking, but we are all experienced internal beta players. This is not a big deal. The middle-aged man shook his head. A serious expression flashed in his eyes. Look carefully at the photo in the post, and pay special attention to the things Gue Suzhen sent. The thin and tall woman was slightly taken aback. Subconsciously took a look. Immediately, he couldn't help but tense up, and a shocked light burst out in his eyes. Could it be? That's right. The middle-aged man nodded. He took out a strange square note from his pocket. The entire body of the note was scarlet red, as thin as a cicada's wing, with a dark luster, like human skin. A line of words was written on it with extremely distorted characters. Chongqing Old Passenger Station, Carriage 4, Row 4, Seats 4, open at midnight on April 24th. There is also a black seal on the side. Obviously, this is an extremely weird ticket. The middle-aged man stroked the ticket. There was a trace of uneasiness in his eyes. Midnight after 7 days is the day when this ticket departs. No one knows what will happen in that car and where it will go. But the only thing that is certain is that the car must be extremely dangerous. The thing on the picture is too similar to the material of this human leather ticket. There may be some special connection between the two. If you can get the thing on the picture, maybe you can get some new information, which can greatly increase the survival rate on the train. The tall, thin woman nodded. I see. I will take someone there and bring that thing back. The middle-aged man responded. Eyes narrowed. Be careful. It's not easy to be able to participate in a ghost show and confront the weirdness head-on. The tall and thin woman sneered. Without the wind, the hair twisted automatically like a poisonous snake, and a very cold chill surged. Behind her, there is even a phantom flickering. It was a hanged ghost in white clothes, with a black face and lolling tongue. Extremely weird. It's best for him to cooperate obediently and hand over the things. Naturally, nothing will happen. Otherwise, there will be one more undead in Fengcheng. It will not end well if it blocks the way of our demon society. Chapter 29. This is the most perfect state I can achieve so far. Yuan looked at the chaotic mist flowing around him and muttered to himself. At this moment, the chaotic ghosts and the hell ghosts of Nie Yan Luo have formed an impeccable balance. It is supported by the ghosts of chaos and extended by the ghosts of hell. This double ghost creature can reach a full coverage of 300 steps. For those who have initially mastered ghosts and myths, this is already an extremely terrifying radiation area. Oh, in just a short moment, you have already mastered the power of ghosts and creatures. No one has ever been able to grasp the essence of ghosts and myths as quickly as you. Even if you are an experienced and senior trick master, it is difficult to reach your level. You are born weird. The bloody screen flickered. Don't begrudge your own kind words. It seems that Yuan's performance has amazed even horror games. Yuan smiled faintly. He didn't care about the text on the bloody screen. He took a deep breath and yawned, a little tired. Tonight's experience was a huge mental drain on him. Whether it is dealing with Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing, or fighting Gue Fahai, or studying ghosts, it is extremely exhausting. It's time to go back and rest. If there is no accident, there will definitely be new tasks and new dangers tomorrow night. He thought about it. The ghosts and creatures that enveloped the surroundings immediately dissipated without a sound. Evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo also quietly hid in Yuan's own mythical space. Once out of the theater, Yuan immediately saw the coffin in the corner and the 5 paper figures leaning against the coffin. They are in a very special state, seemingly dormant. This made Yuan's curiosity a little bit heavier. The weird behavior of these paper figurines is really too much like a living person. Yuan confirmed his previous conjecture even more. Behind these weird paper figurines, there must be something hidden. He needs to explore slowly. Cough, cough. Yuan coughed. The weird paper figurines immediately ejected from the coffin as if they were electrocuted. The painted eyes rolled round and round, shining with a strange light. When seeing Yuan, their eyes instantly became flattering. "My lord, are you out?" The voice was still extremely hoarse and cold, indescribably weird. But anyone can hear the humility and respect in this tone. Yuan smiled faintly. "You guys are very obedient. You have been waiting here for me, and you haven't played any tricks. How dare we disobey the master's order?" The paper figurine replied in a low voice. At the same time, he carefully lifted the lid of the coffin. Yuan didn't say much, just stepped forward and laid down in the coffin leisurely. "Go to Jinwan apartment." The weird paper figurines agreed, and worked hard together to lift Yuan up. Immediately afterwards, the weird paper figurines looked at each other, their eyes full of humanized surprise. Seems to have encountered something extremely terrifying. The elder seems to be getting heavier. A paper figurine hissed strangely, terrified. They are weird creatures. The weight in the usual sense does not actually affect them. It really makes them feel heavy. It's terrifying. This means, just a short moment after entering the Drum Tower Theater, Yuan's level of terror has received another round of frightening skyrocketing. The strange power advances by leaps and bounds. This discovery made the weird paper figurines even more silent and cautious. "I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, I'll disturb this terrible old man on my back." The red moon disappears at the end of the world. The black sun rises to take over the world again. Horror games once again ushered in a brief peace. Fengcheng Airport. Xia Qingzhu and other members of the affairs department are waiting here. The headquarters attaches great importance to our abnormal report. This time, we sent a whole night watchman team. The person in charge of leading the team is the famous Captain Xiao Qinghua. With him in charge, things in Fengcheng must be stable. The wandering strange creatures will be wiped out, and the place of great evil will be blocked. Even the mysterious man in the theater will be properly dealt with. Xia Qingzhu spoke in a deep voice, explaining to his subordinates. The other tricksters also had excited expressions on their faces. They are clear about the weight of the night watchman team. This is the elite team of the headquarters, specially used to deal with all kinds of tricky and weird events. Every member is a very experienced and powerful trickmaster, and Xiao Qinghua, who leads the team, is a top figure in the headquarters. I have personally suppressed many terrifying and weird creatures. With outstanding military exploits and a strong record, he is among the top existences in the entire Horror Affairs department. Everyone believed that no matter how weird things happened in Fengqing, they would be resolved in front of Xiao Qinghua. In the distance, a plane set off a huge air wave and landed slowly. Coming. Xia Qingzhu tensed up, looking forward to it. Chapter 30. The door of the plane opened slowly. A group of people lined up and walked down. The leader was tall, handsome, and his eyes were indifferent, with a bit of contempt for everything in his eyes. It is one of the mainstays of the Horror Affairs division. Captain, Xiao Qinghua. Xia Qingzhu hurried up to meet her. Captain Xiao, you are finally here. We have been waiting for you here for a long time. In the safe zone, we have prepared a banquet to welcome you. This way, please. Xiao Qinghua waved his hands indifferently, speaking casually. There's no need to pick up the wind and wash away the dust. I'm here this time to deal with weird incidents. Is the relevant information ready? Xia Qingzhu didn't dare to neglect. He hurriedly handed over the materials he had prepared long ago with both hands. At the same time, she introduced softly. Team Xiao, the information is mainly divided into 3 parts. Part of it is a brief introduction to Fengqing after the advent of the horror game. Part of it is the observation log of the conditions of the 18 most ominous places. As for the last part, it involves the ghost show at the Drum Tower Theater and that mysterious man. Xiao Qinghua nodded. Focus on the data. Mysterious man in Drum Tower Theater. Identity. Unknown. Level of terror. Unknown. Very dangerous. Need to be handled with care. Attitude towards the Department of Horror Affairs. Unknown. Attitude towards ordinary human players. Currently no malicious intentions. Remarks. Suspected to have the ability to manipulate strange creatures. Suspected to have the ability to distort memory. Isn't this information too little? Is this how you do things? Xiao Qinghua frowned slightly, a little dissatisfied. Xia Qingzhu had a bitter look on her face, and a bit of deep fear flashed in her beautiful eyes. It seemed that something chilled my heart again. That horrible ghost scene is still vivid in my mind. She also wanted to investigate further, but strength does not allow it. Such a terrifying boss. Just looking at him from a distance made her feel a little weak. Want to track down more details? Does she deserve it? There's no need for the boss to do it himself. Just because the 5 paper figurines carrying the coffin are weird, she can't handle it. Xiao Qinghua glanced at her and seemed to understand something. Can't help but sneer. Forget it. It's really difficult for you to track down such a dangerous person. Leave the rest to me. The advent of horror games has brought about too many changes in this world. In addition to the official Department of Horror Affairs, there are also many non-governmental organizations spontaneously established by the tricksters. Heroes use martial arts to commit crimes. These non-governmental organizations, deceitful fighters, relying on their own strange powers, are rampant and lawless. They must be controlled. We must find this mysterious person as soon as possible and find out his position and purpose so as to prevent him from causing more trouble. Say it. Xiao Qinghua closed his 5 fingers. Suddenly, a blue-black flame rose from the palm of his hand and instantly burned this document into flying ashes. This flame is very strange. It is obviously burning fiercely, but it does not feel any warmth, but exudes a faint coldness. Inside the flame, there was even a tiny baby baring its teeth and claws, which was extremely frightening. Xia Qingzhu's heart shuddered. She understood that this will-o'-the-wisp must be one of the weird puzzles controlled by Xiao Qinghua. Don't look at this will-o'-the-wisp being so docile in Xiao Qinghua's hands. But if other people dare to touch it, they will be burned to the point that there will be no scum left. The identity of the captain of the 4-star top headquarters is not for nothing. If you want to track down this mysterious person, you must first find out his exact location. Akio, take the ghost incense. Xiao Qinghua gave an order. Behind him, a beautiful woman in a blue dress immediately took out a stick of bamboo incense from her backpack. The whole body is white, the texture is rough, and there is a trace of rough manufacturing, as if it was piled up with ashes. Director Xia, this is ghost incense, a curse item. You have met that mysterious person before, and there is actually a special and weird connection between the two of you invisibly, and the role of ghost incense is to visualize this connection and help us track down the true location of that mysterious person. Achio chuckled, reassured Xia Qingzhu. and at the same time delivered the ghost incense to her. The will-o'-the-wisp in Xiao Qinghua's hand suddenly surged up and ignited the ghost incense directly. In the eyes of everyone, wisps of strange blue smoke came out of this white ghost incense. Qing Yin twisted in the air, transforming into a ferocious ghost with teeth and claws. A gloomy chill spread, causing the surrounding temperature to drop a lot quietly. This ghost hovered and glanced in the air, as if searching for something. Xiao Qinghua was not in a hurry and waited quietly. According to previous experience, this ghost will quickly lock onto the target and then quickly drift towards the real source. They just have to keep up. But the next moment, something unexpected happened to everyone. The ghost didn't move, but froze in place. There was a somewhat humanized look of fear in those fierce and violent eyes. It was as if he had glimpsed some kind of unspeakable horror. Immediately afterwards, he suddenly uttered an extremely shrill scream. The phantom body twisted painfully in the air, twisting into a ball like a twist. Then it breaks inch by inch, completely turned into nothingness. It seems that in the dark, he has suffered some extremely terrifying attack, and the ghost incense in Xia Qingzhu's hand exploded with a bang, turning into countless powders. What? Xiao Qinghua's expression changed drastically. There was a look of shock in his eyes. There is no previous composure. The ghost incense actually failed. This is something that has never happened before. Qiao was equally shocked. A pretty face no longer had a trace of blood and became extremely pale. She couldn't help but exclaimed, "How can this be?" The other members of the Night Watch were also stunned, a little at a loss. They have dealt with hundreds of strange incidents and have rich experience, but this is the first time they have seen such a situation. This has completely exceeded their expectations. Chapter 31. The scene fell into an awkward silence. Whether it is Xiao Qinghua, Qiao, the night watchman, it was also Xia Qingzhu, a member of Fengqing's affairs department, all are dumbfounded. The strange change of ghost fragrance caught them unexpectedly. Googling, Xia Qingzhu swallowed hard. A bold guess surged in my heart. That mysterious person can distort memory, making everyone who has seen him forget his true face, and cannot describe his appearance. It's an almost indescribable quality. Could it be that tracing his existence is also a taboo? And this kind of taboo has exceeded the scope that the ghost incense can carry? So the ghost incense collapsed directly? This guess made Xia Qingzhu terrified. His hairs stood on end, and an unspeakable chill surged all over his body. If this is the reason, then the horror of this mysterious boss will far exceed her imagination. Can humans really reach those heights? She shook her head quickly, not daring to think about it any further. Aside, Qiao bit her lip tightly. This kind of thing can't happen. According to the file records of the headquarters, the ghost incense has been used a total of 392 times. No matter whether it is tracking the tricksters or tracking strange creatures, there has never been a mistake. This kind of sudden explosion is a special case among special cases. Where is the problem? Xiao Qinghua's face was gloomy and his eyes were cold. The will-o'-the-wisp in his hand danced more recklessly, and the little baby in the will-o'-the-wisp became more ferocious. He hissed, "It may be that some unknown problems occurred during the production process of this ghost incense. It doesn't matter. The ghost fragrance is only one of our methods. If we want to track the trickster, we have other ways. Even if the ghost incense is destroyed, I must find the exact location of that mysterious person today. Chun Han, it's your turn." One order. A man with a thin body and the same shape as a bamboo pole came out. He was wearing a pair of sunglasses, a jacket, and a tattered white flag, like a fortune teller with a street stall. Boom. Chun Han planted the white flag on the ground. Then he sat cross-legged and took off his sunglasses. Xia Qingzhu trembled slightly, with a look of horror in his eyes. Because behind Chun Han's sunglasses, there are not normal eyes. In those empty eye sockets, there are not eyeballs, but 2 copper coins covered with green rust. It looks extremely eerie. Qiao glanced at Xia Qingzhu and said softly, "Don't be afraid. You also know that it is not so easy for human beings to control weird puzzles and steal weird power. Everything comes at a price. Losing eyes is the price Chun Han pays. His code name is Ghost Copper Coin, and those 2 copper coins have the strange ability to divination. Not only can it calculate the position of the target, but it can also calculate the identity, past, and part of the future of the target. It's just that using this ability will cause serious and strange erosion to Chun Han's body, so it will not be used under normal circumstances." Xia Qingzhu nodded. She is also a trickster. Naturally understand this rule. The power of strangeness is a double-edged sword for those who control the strangeness. Ahead, Chen Han has quietly used his strange ability. In the eye sockets, the two rusty copper coins twirled crazily, and a distorted and cold breath diffused quietly. Everyone around couldn't help but tremble, and goosebumps appeared all over their bodies instantly. They could feel that, in the dark, there seemed to be a pair of invisible eyes quietly peeping at them. Let me see, who are you? You can't escape. I can see everything. The past, present, and future are all in my sight. Chen Han spoke softly. The voice was hoarse and sharp, like the sound of scratching a blackboard with fingernails. It's unbearably creepy. This is obviously not Chen Han's own voice, but the voice of the weird puzzle piece on him. I saw you. Everyone around was excited. Xiao Qinghua couldn't help showing a smug smile. Chen Han's terrifying and strange power is really tried and tested. As long as the identity and location of the mysterious person are locked, the rest of the matter will be easy. No matter how deep that mysterious person hides, this time, he won't be able to escape. Xia Qingzhu also breathed a sigh of relief. She was a little worried at first. I'm afraid that Chen Han will not be able to track down that mysterious boss. It seems to be too much to worry about now. The night watchmen at the headquarters are all elites. However, next moment, Chen Han suddenly froze. Then he couldn't stop shaking crazily. The two copper coins in the eye sockets spun crazily at an unprecedented frequency and even made a shrill hum. 2 streaks of scarlet blood gushed out from the eye sockets. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. I shouldn't look at you. I can't look at you. I dare not. Ah! A sharp scream that made the scalp tingle suddenly broke out. The building glass in all directions, stimulated by this scream, burst into pieces in an instant. This is Chen Han and the weird jigsaw puzzle in his body, howling terribly together, and Chen Han himself waved his hands, and could no longer maintain a sitting posture, paralyzed backwards, rolling and crawling in extreme embarrassment. It seems that he is desperately trying to stay away from some extremely terrifying existence, and his body began to shrink and age at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her hair changed from jet black to gray, and countless wrinkles appeared on her face. She seemed to have aged dozens of years in an instant, straight from youth to old age. It was as if a simple spy had cost him most of his life. Chapter 32. This sudden shocking change. Let everyone have a burst of horror. They never expected. Chen Han, who was extremely normal 1 second ago, turned into such a tragic appearance the next second. This is too scary. What exactly is going on? It's fine if there's something wrong with Guixiang. Why did Chen Han's strange ability go wrong? Ah Qiu frowned. Then I couldn't help but shiver deeply. She realized something. The probability of Guixiang and Chen Han having problems at the same time is so small that it is almost impossible. Maybe it wasn't their fault. But that mysterious man. Tracing back the information of that mysterious person is a kind of taboo in the dark. Anyone who tries to do this will suffer a terrible backlash. This possibility cast a thick haze over Akia's heart. Go to hell, damn it. Xiao Qinghua, who had always been calm and indifferent, couldn't control it anymore and couldn't help but swear. Then it was 3 steps and 2 steps in parallel, rushing directly to Chen Han's side. The terrifying blue-black will-o'-the-wisp in his hand suddenly exploded, enveloping Chen Han in an instant. This is a flame with strange power. Can burn strangely, without hurting the living. Xiao Qinghua's purpose is to use the power of the will-o'-the-wisp to suppress the abnormality in Chen Han's body and prevent the ghost copper coin from getting out of control. Try to restore the original balance as much as possible. That's what he's done before. There have been countless successful experiences. But what shocked Xiao Qinghua was, this time, his experience was invalidated, even if he has already shot. But the rotation speed of the 2 rusty ghost copper coins did not slow down by half. The aging of Chen Han's body is still continuing irresistibly. His spirit, his blood and flesh, his bones and soul, are all being swallowed and annihilated quickly. Chen Han, what are you doing? Hurry up and control your weird power. Disconnect and stop doing divination. Xiao Qinghua was so anxious that there were even large beads of sweat on his forehead. Can't help but roar. Chen Han's voice was hoarse and frightened, filled with the most primitive and instinctive panic. Team Captain, I can't do it. The connection can't be broken. I shouldn't be trying to spy on him. Now, he's coming. These were the last words Chen Han said before his death. After saying the last word, he just used up the last trace of life. The whole person turned into fly ash. Not a single trace of excess remains. Only the 2 ghost copper coins fell to the ground, standing upright but still spinning crazily. It seems that there is some invisible and strange force driving him, allowing him to maintain a mysterious connection beyond the scope of human understanding. Xiao Qinghua frowned. There was a look of pain in his eyes. The eyes of the other night watchmen also darkened. They are a small team, act together, go through life and death, and have a very deep relationship with each other. Who would have thought that it was only because of the information about that mysterious person? Chen Han actually died, but they didn't have time to be too sad, and their vigilant eyes locked on the 2 ghost copper coins that were spinning endlessly. Chen Han's last words kept echoing in their hearts. Can't disconnect? He is coming? Who is this he? Could it be? Is that mysterious man? Is this really possible? Chen Han just calculated the situation of the mysterious person through the ability of the strange puzzle, and then the power of the mysterious person can affect this place? What kind of horror is this? For a moment, a deep chill shrouded everyone's hearts. Captain, be careful. It may be dangerous. Achio spoke in a deep voice. Xiao Qinghua's eyes were fierce, flashing with a stern chill, like a raging wild wolf. Don't worry, I know what's going on. I want to see what kind of monsters are there. Chun Han's death needs an explanation, now. Far away in a room in Jin Yuan apartment, Gu Yuan also opened his eyes. He lowered his head slightly and looked at the palm of his right hand. There, a dark circular pattern, slightly hot, shone with a strange light. The streak of nothingness quietly started to work again. This feeling is very familiar. Obviously someone, or some weird creature, is trying to lock him. Gu Yuan's heart skipped a beat. A strange force connected with the pattern of nothingness. Immediately afterwards, in front of him, an illusory scene immediately appeared. More than a dozen people in uniform stood side by side, surrounding a strange, tall, and thin man. This uniform is from the Department of Horror Affairs? The official action is really fast, and they are targeting me so soon? Gu Yuan frowned slightly. He smiled lightly. His eyes were fixed on the eye sockets of the tall and thin man. There are 2 ghost copper coins covered with green patina, which are spinning rapidly. It is this weird puzzle that tries to trace Gu Yuan back through some special clues. The ability to make strange puzzles is really strange. Gu Yuan sighed sincerely. There is no worry in my heart. Because the power of the pattern of nothingness is extremely lofty, it has an unparalleled priority. The unspeakable person behind the red moon wanted to find Gu Yuan across infinite time and space. The pattern of nothingness can directly cut off that connection. And now this is a weird jigsaw puzzle. How can it be possible to spy on Gu Yuan's real information? However, this ghost copper coin is a bit interesting. In some special cases, it should be able to play a big role. If you spy on me for no reason, you have to charge some interest. This weird puzzle is mine. Gu Yuan sneered. Behind him, a tall and burly terrifying phantom appeared. A total of 9 scarlet eyes, like a pool of blood, surged with a frightening chill. Evil Yan Luo, go. Gu Yuan gave an order. Follow my lord's command. Nie Yan Luo hissed. Immediately, he directly used his own ghost creature from hell. A terrifying prison was looming, and the eerie and pure darkness spread towards the phantoms of the crowd in front. It's a combination that's far beyond human comprehension. The ghost copper coin traced back to Gu Yuan, provided the coordinates. With its supreme power, the pattern of nothingness forcibly established a connection with the ghost copper coin and built a mysterious passage in the dark. And Nie Yan Luo is now going to use the ghost creature as a boat, use the power of the pattern of nothingness to cross the void, ignore the barrier of distance, and have an impact on another. Space. Forcibly plundering ghost copper coins. Chapter 33. Fengqing Airport. Xiao Qinghua, Achio, Xia Qingzhu, and everyone else's eyes were fixed on the 2 spinning ghost copper coins. All of them looked dignified and concentrated, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Coming. Achio spoke urgently. Everyone can see it. The 2 ghost copper coins suddenly stopped spinning, as if they were forcibly suppressed by a pair of invisible hands. In the void, a piece of pure darkness spread out, and the places shrouded in this darkness have also undergone strange changes. The light is gone. The sound disappeared. It was as if everything was swallowed by the darkness and fell into a terrifying silence. There is only one gloomy prison looming in the darkness. What the hell is this? Some tricksters exclaimed. Everything that appeared in front of them far exceeded their previous cognition, and Xiao Qinghua's face became even more ugly. Perhaps other people do not understand this phenomenon, but as the captain of the night watchman at the headquarters, he is qualified to have access to more and deeper situations. Now, two terrifying words jumped into his mind. Demon. The darkness in front of me came from unknown ghosts. Being able to evolve a ghost creature means that its horror level has reached an incalculable level. The manipulation is weird, the memory is distorted, it can't be traced back, and it evolves into a ghost? Has that mysterious person come this far? Xiao Qinghua muttered to himself. His eyes were extremely serious. Blue veins stood out on his forehead, and drops of fine cold sweat quietly seeped out. Obviously, the captain of the night watchman with outstanding military exploits is under some kind of extremely huge pressure. Suddenly, in the darkness, a terrifying figure emerged. His skin was shriveled and his face was haggard, like a mummy, with 9 scarlet eyes, pulsating with horrifying blood. It's him. Xia Qingzhu was shocked. She will never forget the terrifying appearance of Nie Yan Luo in her life. Isn't this one of the weird creatures around Gu Yuan? It's just that, compared to what he was in the Drum Tower Theater before, the Nie Yan Luo now seems to be even more terrifying. And in the moment of appearance, Nie Yan Luo suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the ghost copper coin on the ground. Damn it! Xiao Qinghua was taken aback for a moment, and then came to his senses. Nie Yan Luo came across space, and his real purpose was to take away these 2 ghost coins. This kind of thing, Xiao Qinghua naturally didn't allow it. Chun Han is dead. The ghost copper coin is his last relic. How could Nie Yan Luo be taken away so easily? Don't even think about it. Xiao Qinghua roared angrily. The clothes on his body exploded in an instant, revealing his strong upper body. His body was covered with black scorched marks, which looked extremely tragic. This is the price of harnessing the will-o'-the-wisp. Day and night, I have to endure the roasting from the will-o'-the-wisp. Whoosh! The blue-black will-o'-the-wisp rose sharply, surging with a chill, and burned towards Nie Yan Luo in the midair. The ghost baby in the flames even opened its mouth, revealing a mouthful of fangs, and let out a creepy growl. This moment, Xiao Qinghua has released all the weird power of the will-o'-the-wisp that he can control. The other members of the Night Watchman also started at the same time. Someone took off his clothes, revealing the hideous tattoos on his back. Someone knelt on the ground, clasped his hands together, and a rotting corpse emerged from the ground in front of him, walking towards Nie Yan Luo with stiff steps. Someone scratched his palm, dripping out drop after drop of green blood, exuding a foul and rotten smell. All kinds of weird and inexplicable attacks came to Nie Yan Luo from different directions. But Nie Yan Luo didn't even look at it, just snorted coldly. The bone seal in his hand suddenly shone with a pale cold light. All sins will be returned to purgatory. There was a hoarse whisper like a dream. Then all the strange attacks were instantly distorted by an invisible force, forcibly captured, and thrown into the looming hell in the darkness. This is the horror of Nie Yan Luo. When Gu Yuan created him, he endowed him with extremely high authority through extremely terrifying dark mythological stories. The Last Judge. He can judge countless weird evils, seal and suppress all those weird powers, and lock them in the endless hell. Of course, the current Nie Yan Luo is far from reaching the terrifying height of judging everything. It's just a preliminary grasp of some superficial powers. But it is enough to deal with this Night Watchman team. Xiao Qinghua, Akiyu, and other members of the Night Watchman all had a terrible expression on their faces. All the blood on his face faded in an instant, turning into pure paleness. There was an indescribable shock in their eyes. The horror of Nie Yan Luo far exceeded their imagination. A strong sense of powerlessness lingered in their hearts. Even combining the strength of the entire Night Watchman squad, can't they stop Nie Yan Luo for a moment? Nie Yan Luo's skinny palm held the 2 ghost copper coins in his hand without hindrance. Then the darkness receded and hell disappeared. His tall figure also slowly disappeared. Gu Yuan's order was to plunder ghost coins. Mission accomplished now. He will return naturally. And at the last moment before disappearing, he lowered his head abruptly, and those 9 scarlet eyes glared at everyone gloomily. The gloomy blood was like hell. Everyone was heartbroken. I just feel a creep. They all understood the meaning of the last look. It's a kind of warn. It was the mysterious person hiding behind Nie Yan Luo who was beating them. This time, the price they paid for tracing Gu Yuan's identity and location was the death of Chen Han and the loss of ghost coins. If there is a next time, the price is more than that. Everyone present will die. For a while, The huge Fengqing airport fell into a strange silence. Xiao Qinghua, who was originally high-spirited, squatted on the ground a little weakly, and he no longer had the soaring spirit before. Withered. The blow he had just had in this air-to-air confrontation was really too great. Just one evil Yan Luo beat up their entire night watch team. And according to intelligence, beside that mysterious person, besides Nie Yan Luo, there was another strange creature wearing a black robe and holding a chain of seductive souls. Not to mention that the mysterious person himself has not made a move yet. Calculated in such a detailed way, the gap between him and that mysterious person is simply unimaginable. Captain, what shall we do now? Achio hissed. Xiao Qinghua sighed, a little lonely. Report Chen Han's death, and let the headquarters provide generous compensation to Chen Han's family. As for the mysterious person, the investigation is temporarily suspended. He's too scary. If we continue to investigate, Chen Han will not be the only one who died. We won't be able to escape alone. You compile a detailed report and send it to the headquarters. My suggestion is to give up all rash investigations and try to make friendly contact when you meet by chance. It would be best if he could be brought to our horror affairs department. If you can't, you must maintain a friendly relationship and you must not be an enemy with him. Otherwise, it will be a terrible disaster. Chapter 34. Golden Bay Apartments. Gu Yuan reclined on the chair leisurely. In front of him, Nie Yan Luo bent down respectfully and lowered his head. With a pair of big skinny hands like tree bark together, he held two strange coins in front of Gu Yuan. Is this the two ghost copper coins that can be used to tell the truth? Gu Yuan raised his eyebrows. I looked at it with interest. These two ghost copper coins are very old, covered with green copper rust, with distorted engravings on them, and the words Yuming Tongbao written on them. There is a gloomy and cold atmosphere lingering on it, lingering. It was as if invisible. A ferocious little ghost with a green face and fangs was entrenched on top of the copper coins. Ghost copper coins. Grade. 4-star weird puzzle. Introduction. Copper coins can be used to predict good and bad luck, and to measure the secrets of heaven, but please remember that everything has a price to pay. For every calculation, all you have to pay is your lifespan. Note that there seem to be more than 2 copper coins. If you can collect enough ghost copper coins, you may have different surprises. A smile appeared on the corner of Gu Yuan's mouth. His hunch was right. This ghost copper coin is really extraordinary. Both are 4-star weird puzzles, and there is a strange connection between them, which can produce an inexplicable resonance. The main reason is that Chen Han is too weak. There is no more profound grasp of the essence of ghost copper coins. Therefore, the strange power of ghost copper coins has been limited. Now in the hands of Gu Yuan, the power he can display will only be stronger than before. Moreover, what caught Gu Yuan's attention even more was another message from the thriller game. There are more than 2 ghost coins. There are more ghost coins, scattered in unknown areas. If you can get more ghost coins, something very special will happen. Maybe, I can use some special method to string these ghost copper coins together to make a copper coin sword? Gu Yuan stroked the ghost copper coin while thinking about it. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this idea was extremely feasible. According to ancient legends, things like copper coins and swords are specially used to drive away ghosts and evil spirits because of their popularity. So what if it is a copper coin sword composed entirely of ghost copper coins? What kind of power will it have? Can it be a powerful tool against weird creatures? You know, a single ghost copper coin is a 4-star weird puzzle. The combination of a large number of ghost copper coins, even if there is no special bonus, just smashing down with brute force is enough to kill many strange creatures abruptly. This is an interesting direction. If you see clues about ghost copper coins in the future, you can investigate them in depth. Gu Yuan secretly made up his mind to put away the ghost copper coins properly. Then he closed his eyes again, recharging his energy for the evening. Time passed quietly. Soon, it was night again. The red moon hangs high. The scarlet moonlight poured into every corner of the world, making this already terrifying thriller game a little more weird and eerie. Dear human players, happy night is about to start again. The rules are as usual tonight. People who go out will randomly trigger tasks. You will get close to the weirdness and further feel the distortion of this world. Live. This is your ultimate goal. He glanced at the bloody screen. Gu Yuan smiled lightly and didn't care at all. For other human players, this dark night is full of unspeakable fear. But for Gu Yuan, this is a feast of hunting. He just walked out the door. An exception was found. At the end of the corridor, there was a little girl standing there alone with her head down. In her hand, she was dragging a machete equal to the height of an adult. The blade was full of gaps, as if cutting too many things and curling the blade. A stream of blood flowed down the blade, forming a pool of blood on the ground. The little girl's white leather shoes were abruptly dyed scarlet, which looked extremely terrifying. It seems that they heard the sound from Yuan. The little girl looked up. She has a fair complexion, pink and jade carvings, big eyes, and looks very cute. But the eyes are dull and numb, and there is no expression. Obviously, he is not an ordinary little girl, but an extremely dangerous strange creature. Big brother, there is a parent meeting at school tonight, and the teacher said that both parents must go. But I accidentally hacked my parents to death just now. They can't go. I will be scolded by the teacher. Can you help me? Be my father? The little girl looked at Yuan with a weird smile on her lips. And what she said made people feel even more creepy. The bloody screen of the horror game then lit up, flickering in front of Yuan. I don't know whether to say whether you are lucky or unlucky. As soon as you go out, you trigger a new mission. As you can see, daughter needs someone to replace her parents in tonight's parent-teacher meeting. You can choose, do you want to accept this mission and agree to Nanan's request? Attention, if you refuse, you will be attacked by your daughter frantically. Yuan smiled lightly, with playful eyes. He calmly looked at this weird little girl named Nan and said gently, of course, Big Brother has no other advantages, but he is willing to help others. Don't worry, with Big Brother here, this parents' meeting will be safe. Chapter 35 My daughter is missing a mother. Hear Yuan's words. A stiff smile immediately appeared on the face of this weird little girl named Nan. He dragged the machete as tall as a person, staggered forward, and came to Yuan's side. That's great, Big Brother. I knew that you were a good person. Fortunately, I didn't hack you to death as soon as we met. The little girl's voice was low and depressing. At the same time, he raised his little hand and held Yuan tightly. The palm of his hand was extremely cold, and there was an infinite chill surging. There is still some sticky liquid in the palm, which is the residual blood that has not been cleaned. You have accepted a new task, late-night parent meeting. Mission objective: go to Fengqing number 3 primary school and successfully complete the parent meeting. Secondary goal of the task: be named the best parent by the teacher. Mission success reward depends on the completion of the mission. Punishment for mission failure: the school will undergo weird changes because of you, and you may never be able to walk out of the school gate. Yuan glanced and raised his eyebrows. Fengqing number 3 primary school? Another murderous place? First Qingfeng Temple, then the Drum Tower Theater, and this time Fengqing number 3 primary school. I really have a predestined relationship with these terrible places. He chuckled. There was no panic at all. Although the place of great evil is dangerous, correspondingly, its rewards will be very rich. Big Brother. No, Dad. Let's go quickly. The parent meeting is about to start. If you're late, the teacher won't be happy. The little girl urged softly. Yuan nodded and led the little girl downstairs. And downstairs, there is a dark coffin. Those 5 paper figurines were weird, waiting here respectfully. They have been completely tamed by Yuan. Now it is Yuan's personal car. Master, where are you going today? The paper figurine asked strangely and humbly. Yuan did not hesitate. Go to Fengqing number 3 primary school. Fengqing number 3 primary school. The school gate was dilapidated and rusty, and the school plaque was covered with cracks, which seemed to be broken at any time. The surrounding area was covered with weeds, and it was obvious that no one had taken care of it for a long time. The teaching building inside was dark, without any extra light, and looked extremely gloomy, full of a strange atmosphere. The 5 paper figurines jumped up and down strangely, carrying a coffin to the school gate. Yuan lifted the lid of the coffin and walked out leading the little girl. Still the old rules, you guys. Wait here for me to come out. Yuan ordered casually. Then he turned to look at the little girl and smiled. Ninny, where is your teacher holding a parent-teacher meeting? Take Dad there. But the little girl shook her head very stiffly like a corpse and said hoarsely, No, Dad, we can't go yet. The teacher said, this parent meeting, both parents must come. Now my daughter has a father, but she doesn't have a mother yet. Yuan was slightly taken aback. Then it suddenly dawned on me. He ignored this detail. From the looks of it, this is a hidden prerequisite for the mission. It is necessary to find another mother for the little girl in order to carry out the task smoothly. But at this juncture, where can Yuan find another female companion? He pondered for a while. Gu Yuan turned his head and looked around. His eyes suddenly locked on the corner of the street. There is a stall there. There is a signboard hanging next to it, which reads, starch sausage for 3 yuan, 2 for 5 yuan, with crooked handwriting and different sizes. A woman in a long floral dress was stiffly turning the sausages on the booth, the hot oil sizzling. At first glance, this appears to be a very ordinary stall, but if you observe carefully, you will find that what is placed in the stove is actually not a sausage at all. It's human fingers with distinct bones. The smell from the hot oil is not an appetizing aroma, but an extremely weird burnt smell. It's like corpse oil. There is no doubt that this woman is actually a strange creature. If it was someone else, seeing this weird scene, I'm afraid they would have been scared to death. But Gu Yuan became excited instead. He felt that his thinking was limited. Nie Yan needs a mother, and she needs a female companion. But who said you have to find a woman? Isn't it the same for female ghosts? Look at this beautiful little floral dress. Isn't it easy to fool the parent meeting? Present. Gu Yuan just patted the little girl's head and said with a smile, "Go. Dad will take you to find Mom." He took the little girl by the hand and walked quickly to the front of the stall. The female ghost also noticed a little movement and raised her head stiffly, revealing her true face. With sunken eye sockets and skinny bones, he looked like a skeleton, extremely horrifying. In the dark eyes, there was an indescribable fierce light. "Boss, do you want grilled sausage? 1 for 3 yuan, 2 for 5 yuan. It's baked and sold right away. It's very fragrant." Gu Yuan raised his eyebrows. This female ghost is really ugly. It seems that those who are as beautiful and attractive as Gue Suzhen and Gue Shaoqing are also very few among the weird. But it doesn't matter. As long as it's a woman. He raised his hand slightly. The gloomy black-robed figure of evil impermanence suddenly appeared. At the same time, there was a rattling sound from the chain of ecstasy. It leaned out fiercely like a poisonous snake and ran directly towards the female ghost. The female ghost also sensed the danger, opened her mouth suddenly, and let out a terrifying scream that was impossible for humans to make. The booth in front of him exploded directly. The fingers of the roasted people all flew up, grabbing at this pitch-black chain of ecstasy. The confrontation between weirdness is often a competition of horror. Although this female ghost is ferocious, its terror level is only at the junior level of 3 stars. There is an incomparably huge gap between evil and impermanence. Just click. Those people's fingers were all shaken into wisps of blue smoke, and the chains of ecstasy were wrapped around the body of the stall girl without any hindrance, tying her up like a rice dumpling. If it weren't for Gu Yuan's order to keep him alive. Now, this female stall has been completely strangled to death by the ecstasy chain. Ho 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 ho. The stall girl struggled frantically and let out a painful growl from her throat. The look in Gu Yuan's eyes was still very fierce. But behind this ferocity, there is already unspeakable fear. This is a low-level weird creature, the instinctive fear when facing high-level weirdness. Gu Yuan chuckled and took a step forward. He pointed to the little girl, and then to himself. Primary school parent meeting. He, daughter, me, dad, you, mom, understand? Concise and concise, without dragging the water. Chapter 35. My daughter is missing A. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 36. Class 4 classroom for 4 years. Full seats. During this period of time, I have dealt with all kinds of weird creatures. Gu Yuan also summed up some rules. In most cases, these low-level weird creatures have extremely limited intelligence. Like a beast wandering in the jungle, they attack humans, largely, because of an innate instinct. Therefore, in order to tame them, it is useless to talk long and hard. Only by showing enough spiritual suppression can they be subdued. Now, under the shackles of the ecstasy chains, a bit of human fear flickered in the eyes of the stall-setting woman. He felt the threat of death. The human being in front of him is not a blood-eating animal that can be slaughtered at will, but a demon god who can take life and death. I only give you 3 seconds to think about it. 3, 2. Gu Yuan spoke calmly. He hasn't finished yet. This female ghost at the stall has already nodded frantically. Very good. Gu Yuan nodded in satisfaction, then gently raised his hand to signal. One order. Evil impermanence immediately put away the chains of ecstasy. The terrifying black-robed figure slowly disappeared. Ninny, this is your mother. Gu Yuan rubbed the little girl's head. The little girl nodded stiffly, Her face twitched, and she squeezed out a weird smile, as if she was really happy. Great, my daughter has a new mother. He stepped forward in small steps, as if he wanted to hold the hand of the ghost woman who set up a stall. But now he is holding Gu Yuan in one hand, and the machete with a human height in the other. There are no hands left. He hesitated for a moment. The little girl made an extremely terrifying move. He swung the machete directly and slammed it into his stomach. The clothes were torn, the skin was ripped apart, but not a single drop of blood flowed out. It was extremely weird. Gu Yuan watched this scene with cold eyes, frowning slightly. The viciousness of this cheap daughter of myself is somewhat beyond expectations. The female ghost who set up the stall was also frightened. There was a bit of panic flickering in those empty pupils. Good guy. Dad is not normal. Daughter is not normal. Let's go. Mom and Dad. The parents' meeting is about to start. The little girl held Gu Yuan with one hand, and the stall girl with the other, and walked into the abyss-like Fengqing No. 3 primary school. The campus is extremely dark, without any lights, oppressive and suffocating. A deserted road leads directly to the teaching building. Rows of locust trees are planted on both sides of the road. The dark wind blew, and the leaves rolled and collided, making a rustling sound, as if a ghost was whispering. Soon, under the leadership of the little girl, Gu Yuan and the stall girl came to the door of a classroom. 4 classes and 4 classes. An unlucky number. Bang. The classroom door opened automatically without wind, and opened by itself very abruptly. On the podium, a white candle was burning, emitting a faint light. With this light, Gu Yuan could see that the classroom was already full of people. Oh no, to be precise, it should be full of weirdness. 30 children, like Nanny, with pale faces and strange eyes. Beside them, sat their grotesque parents. Some were covered in bandages, only showing green glowing eyes. Some of them are only half of their bodies, and the smelly stagnant water is constantly flowing down from top to bottom. Some are not humanoid at all, but a twisted, honeycomb-shaped strange flesh and blood. And the teacher on the podium is not normal. He was wearing black stockings, a short skirt, a tight white shirt, and gold-rimmed glasses. This attire should have been very alluring. But the one wearing these clothes is not the glamorous Yujia, but a white skeleton. This combination looks extremely weird and terrifying. The entire classroom was filled with an indescribable coldness and splendor, as if in hell. The moment the classrooms opened, all the weird creatures turned their heads at the same time. Those cold and fierce gazes all fell on Gu Yuan's body. Gu Yuan's eyes were indifferent, and he watched the scene calmly, without any panic. It's as if these existences in front of me are not that dangerous and weird, but a group of Chinese cabbages. The skeleton teacher on the podium stood up stiffly. In the hollow eye sockets, 2 will-o'-the-wisps danced. The upper and lower oral bones opened and closed mechanically, making a hoarse and deep sound. You are the parents of the little girl, right? It's up to you. However, the classroom is full now, and there are no seats for you, so you can stand up for the meeting. Gu Yuan frowned slightly. A stern look flashed across his eyes. I don't know if it's an illusion. When it comes to standing up for meetings, there seemed to be a strange smile on the faces of the skeleton teacher and the weird creatures in the classroom. It's like the kind of gloating, waiting to see a good show. This made Gu Yuan immediately realize a possibility. This parent meeting is not that simple. Perhaps there are many hidden rules. This seating arrangement is one of them. If you can't sit down when the parent-teacher meeting starts, that might be subject to some kind of extremely terrifying and strange attack. After all, this is a place of great evil. Without knowing the details, Gu Yuan didn't want to risk his life and challenge the rules. He hesitated a little. Gu Yuan walked straight into the classroom and came to a desk and chair in the last corner of the classroom. Here, there is a weird little boy and his weird parents. Human, what do you want to do? The charred corpse hissed. The role he plays is the father of the weird little boy. Gu Yuan was smiling. It's nothing. I just want to sit down. The voice did not fall. Behind him, the ferocious figure of eternal impermanence reappeared, as if endless and deep malice pervaded, covering the charred corpse in front of him in an instant. It seems that there is an invisible and strange force surging. The charred corpse involuntarily floated up. Chapter 37. Yes, this is Gu Yuan's plan. Since there are no more vacancies in the classroom, then he will use force to forcibly seize a position. When evil impermanence makes a move, Gu Yuan also maintained a high degree of vigilance, paying attention to other strange creatures with his peripheral vision, especially the movement of the skeleton teacher on the podium. He himself was not sure. Will this bold move cause some kind of abnormal change? However, the other weird creatures were all extremely calm, without any unnecessary actions. It seems to have acquiesced in Gu Yuan's behavior of grabbing the seat. This made Gu Yuan more sure of his guess. My guess was correct. This is one of the rules of the mission. At the beginning of the parent meeting, you must find a seat to sit down, and fighting for the seat by force is also within the scope of the rules. Gu Yuan muttered to himself, and this time, the scorched black corpse also began to resist. He writhed wildly, and the scorched black flesh on his body fell off one by one. It's like a large onion, peeling off its skin bit by bit. It's strange and creepy, with the flesh falling. The turbulent malice exuded by evil and impermanence has also been weakened to a certain extent. Obviously, this is a strange method of scorching the black corpse. If all the flesh and skin were to be lost, then the level of his terror might reach a very terrifying level. But it is a pity. Evil impermanence will not give him this opportunity. There was a tooth-piercing crackling sound. The ecstasy chain sprang out again. In an instant, the scorched black corpse was pierced through and directly nailed to the ground. Then the ecstasy chain trembled, directly shattering the scorched corpse. Spike! All traces of the scorched corpse were erased. Only one black finger remained in place. That's the weird jigsaw puzzle he belongs to. Until this time. Only then did the weird little boy sitting on the seat and the weird girl who played his mother react. They stood up at the same time and let out a mournful howl. 4 skinny and blue hands stretched out towards Gu Yuan at the same time. It seems that because the level of horror shown by evil and impermanence is too high, they all tacitly chose Gu Yuan as the target of attack. This is the wrong choice. Gu Yuan sneered. He raised his hand directly. Slap left, slap right. The seemingly ordinary movements are mixed with extremely terrifying and majestic strange forces. The heads of the weird little boy and the weird girl were blown apart in an instant. The stinky black blood shot out like sharp arrows, polluting the entire ceiling. Come and sit. Gu Yuan put away the weird jigsaw puzzle that exploded. He dragged away the dead body that had completely lost its spirituality, casually threw it in the middle of the corridor, and then waved at the girl and the stall girl. All of these. The skeleton teacher on the podium saw everything, but didn't say anything, until Gu Yuan and his party sat down. He spoke in an extremely hoarse and cold voice. Parents' meeting start. The voice just fell. A very strange wind blew up in the classroom. The breeze was blowing, quietly passing the corridor. Rows of tooth marks immediately appeared on the strange corpses on the ground, as if something was frantically gnawing on these corpses. In just a short time, the 2 corpses were all eaten up. Gu Yuan frowned slightly. In the pupils of the eyes, runes bloodshot quietly spread. He opened the original pupil. Under this view, Gu Yuan could see clearly. The wind in the corridor is actually not the wind, but a dense pile of illusory human heads. It's like a group of ants or a group of poisonous bees, thousands of them. They showed fierce eyes, bared their teeth, and there were still black blood and scattered shreds of meat between their teeth, and they looked extremely violent. After eating the strange corpses, they still seemed not satisfied and wanted to find new prey. After rolling around the corridor several times, but found nothing, he backed away silently and left the classroom extremely unwillingly. The rules are correct. This classroom has some kind of special force constraint. This group of people has weird heads and will only attack those who don't have a seat, while the people in the seat are safe and sound. Gu Yuan calculated silently in his heart. In fact, the horror level of this group of people with strange heads is not high, but there are too many of them, and the weird power combined has reached a very terrifying level. If it is really tough, with Gu Yuan's current strength, he can withstand it. But there will be huge losses. This is undoubtedly unwise. Gu Yuan still had to focus on this weird parent meeting. Okay, now, parents, please, reach into the drawer of the desk in front of you. There are transcripts and quiz papers from the most recent monthly exam. Teacher Skeleton's voice sounded again. Gu Yuan frowned slightly, lowered his head, and looked at the drawer. It was pitch black, and it was impossible to see the bottom. There was a faint coldness oozing out, like an endless abyss. Without hesitation, he directly raised his hand and reached in. It was easy to fumble for the test paper, but when he wants to pull it out, the wrist is suddenly tightened. An unknown hand grabbed Gu Yuan's wrist. The fingertips were cold, the skin was rough and chapped, and the nails were long and narrow, like daggers. A terrifying force was transmitted along the wrist. It seemed that he wanted to pull Gu Yuan into a drawer. Chapter 38. Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. A ray of light flickered in his eyes. This weird parent meeting is really dangerous everywhere. The drawers are full of spooky things. Take a test paper without stopping. If an ordinary human player suffered such a sudden attack, he might be caught off guard and pulled into the drawer abruptly. And once it falls into the drawer, even if there is no hope of escaping in this life. But Gu Yuan is no ordinary human player. He sneered. There was no panic or tension. He dropped the test paper in his hand, turned his wrist forcibly, grabbed the ghost hand with his backhand, and then pulled it out suddenly. This is Gu Yuan's choice. Use his own way to treat his own body. The weird creature hiding in the desk wanted to drag Gu Yuan into the drawer. And Gu Yuan wanted to pull this hide-and-seek mouse out of the drawer. It's a wrestling. It is also a confrontation between strange forces. The desk in front of him began to vibrate crazily, and the legs of the table rubbed against the ground, sending out bursts of sharp humming. Crunch. A pitch-black crack suddenly appeared on the table, and then spread at an extremely fast speed, covering the entire desk in an instant. Then bang. The desk exploded. A strange creature that looked a bit like a monkey appeared out of thin air. He is thin and small, only about 30 centimeters, covered with moldy green hair, with a bald tail trailing behind him. But the hand that grabbed Gu Yuan's wrist was surprisingly big. Hiss! He let out a shrill scream, and his eyes were fierce and tyrannical. He hugged Gu Yuan's arm directly, opened his bloody mouth, and bit down in one bite. The evil and impermanent figure flickered and appeared in front of Gu Yuan. Under the black robe, the two ghostly blue ghost lights quietly locked onto this weird one. The long and narrow ghost tongue protruded and stretched into a straight line in the air. Roll! A hoarse growl sounded. In the ordinary words, there is an unimaginable strange power. Terrifying sound waves spread. The weird thing hugging Gu Yuan's arm was instantly eroded by the sound waves, turning into a mass of rotten pieces of meat. Only the ghost hand, still maintaining its original shape, fell to the ground, opening and closing unconsciously. Dark Ghost Hand. Grade. 4-star Weird Puzzle. Introduction. The ghost hand hidden in the darkness usually launches attacks where you cannot see. You will be dragged mercilessly into the darkness by him, and you will never be able to escape. Good harvest. Gu Yuan smiled lightly and put away the ghost hand. For him now, low-level weird puzzles are actually almost worthless. Only this kind of 4-star or higher weird jigsaw puzzle can significantly increase the horror of evil impermanence and Nie Yan Luo. The other side. Nie Yan leaned down, found the report card and test paper among a pile of desk debris, and handed it to Gu Yuan. It can survive the fierce collision of strange forces without any damage. This report card and test paper are obviously not ordinary paper, but some kind of special weird thing. The whole body presents a mysterious blue-black color, and the text on it is blood-like scarlet, distorted and evil. And when Gu Yuan read the text on the test paper clearly, I couldn't help but feel a chill in my heart. Question 1. Which part of the human body is the tastiest? Second question. What method do we usually use to worship the Great Red Moon? Third question. In what way can a lowly human die the most painful death? The fourth question. How to erode human beings and turn them into slaves faster? Fifth question. Every question is filled with a kind of extreme malice. It's as if human beings are not an intelligent race, but a group of pigs waiting to be slaughtered. But the weird creatures are high above, overlooking everything, and treat humans as dogs. Of course, Gu Yuan has long been used to strange creatures hunting and killing humans. And what really made him feel chills in his heart? It is the meaning behind these topics. The topic will not appear out of thin air. There must be something to rely on. With such a topic, it means that there will be corresponding teaching materials and a corresponding education system. This means that in an unknown area of this world, there exists a civilization composed entirely of strange creatures. There, newborn strange creatures will undergo systematic education as soon as they are born and become hunters who hunt and kill humans. This is horrible. If this guess is true, the biggest enemy these human players of horror games will face in the future may not be some indescribable terrifying evil god. It is a civilization aggregate composed of countless terrifying and weird combinations. The level of danger rises sharply. I thought I had already attached great importance to this horror game, but now it seems that I still underestimated how terrifying it is. If this imaginary strange civilization really exists, what kind of role does the horror game play? A sifter? Or a slaughterhouse? Gu Yuan muttered to himself. He vaguely felt that he seemed to have glimpsed the tip of the iceberg behind the horror game. It's a chilling truth. Call. Gu Yuan took a deep breath and suppressed the huge wave in his heart. A sharp light burst out from his eyes. This terrifying truth did not make him fall into despair. On the contrary, it aroused Gu Yuan's fighting spirit and ambition to a greater extent. Even though the evil gods are all around, and there are billions of weird schemes, he will go to the top step by step. He raised his head and looked around. The sharp gaze swept across the many strange faces in the classroom. Finally, he focused on the skinny skeleton in black silk on the podium. This skeleton has a very high level of eerie horror. It is very likely that it is the boss of this mission. If it is said, Gu Yuan wants to dig deeper to get more clues about this game. Maybe we can start with the strange body of this skeleton. And this skeleton was weird, and it also noticed Gu Yuan's gaze. He stared straight at Gu Yuan coldly, the will-o'-the-wisps dancing in his eyes, surging with a kind of violence and ferocity from the soul. Sun Bai's jaws trembled slightly, as if he was smiling. Chapter 39. In the gloomy classroom, Teacher Skeleton stood there stiffly. Hoarse characters squeezed out from the cracks in his bones, echoing in the classroom, causing hollow echoes. Parents, what you are holding in your hands now are the test papers and transcripts of the latest exam. I am very disappointed with the results of the class this time. It is not the normal level. Family education is very important for children's growth. I believe all parents are aware of this. I hope to be able to work with all parents to train children well and improve their grades. Gu Yuan sat there quietly, with a calm expression, neither sad nor happy. There is nothing wrong with these words. If it comes from the mouth of a kind-hearted human teacher, it will be an earnest teaching and benefit endlessly. But appearing on such a thin and haggard skeleton, it seems extremely inconsistent and weird. On the podium, Teacher Skeleton raised his hand stiffly, picked up the pointer, and tapped the blackboard lightly. It's like a special signal. In an instant, on all the desks, there appeared a human corpse. It was the same in front of Gu Yuan. The originally broken desk reappeared strangely. A human corpse is displayed on it. The body had apparently been dead for some time. The black corpse spots were continuous one after another, and there were even signs of decay in many places. The white maggots could be vaguely seen wriggling. Disgusting and scary. A dilapidated and decaying stench filled the classroom, making it almost suffocating and nauseating. Gu Yuan narrowed his eyes. He glanced at the skeleton teacher on the podium. For a while, he couldn't figure out the intention of this skeleton shelf. Soon, Mr. Skeleton's hoarse and evil voice sounded again. At this parent meeting, I hope that all parents can lead by example and set a good example for their children. The power of role models is infinite. Parents, please eat the corpse in front of you. This is a rare opportunity for children to observe. The parent who consumes the shortest time will be named the best parent. Eerie language echoes. Almost all the weird creatures started to move at the same time. They feasted on the human corpse in front of them as if they had seen some delicious food. Gu Yuan frowned. There was a look of disgust in his eyes. He never expected that this weird parent meeting would involve such a terrifying and frightening content. On the side, Nanio grabbed Gu Yuan's sleeve, widened her empty and dull eyes, and said in a low voice, "Dad, you have to work hard. You must get the best parent, otherwise, I will have to hack you and mother to death." While speaking, he held the handle of the knife and pulled it out slowly. The dripping blood flowed out and fell to the ground with a crisp sound. The stall girl at the side trembled slightly. A bit of instinctive fear flickered in the eyes. Gu Yuan frowned even tighter. He has to fight for the title of best parent. Of course, he wasn't afraid of his daughter's death threat. Although this little girl was weird and fierce, she could easily be crushed to death by Gu Yuan. What really made him care? It's my own task. The main goal of the task is to complete the parent meeting, and the secondary goal is to be named the best parent by the teacher. If both goals are completed, he will also be able to get the most lucrative task reward. But, anyway, he's human, not spooky. It is impossible to devour human corpses, let alone such corpses that are almost rotten. According to the normal rules of the game, I definitely can't win. Then we can only take the edge of the sword. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. His cold and stern eyes flicked over the strange creatures who were feasting around. He doesn't have to win games to stand out. If all the other weirdnesses participating in the competition are slaughtered, then even if he does nothing, he is still the winner. With this in mind, he just didn't hesitate anymore. Suddenly raised his hand. Behind him, a tall and burly terrifying figure flashed out. The 9 blood-red eyes widened to the maximum, and there was a frightening cold light. The level of horror is as high as 5-star elementary myths and weirdness. Evil Yama appeared. The moment he appeared, he directly held up the seal of bones and released that terrifying ghost from hell. After all, what Gu Yuan has to do this time is not to deal with a certain weird creature. He wants to use absolutely strong means to directly solve all the weird parents in the classroom. Killing one by one, the action is a bit too full. Mobilizing ghosts and beasts is the best choice. The void and deep prison of hell flickers nonstop. The forest was pure darkness, centered on the position where Nie Yan Luo was standing, and spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the entire 4-year Class 4 classroom was covered. Not even the podium was spared. The white candle placed on the podium was also directly submerged. All the light, all disappeared. All voices are gone. The huge classroom fell into a deep, dead silence. Chapter 40. Class 4 classrooms for 4 years were completely shrouded in darkness. On the surface, it looks like a pool of stagnant water, without any unnecessary movement. But in fact, inside the ghost creature, there is an extremely weird and terrifying confrontation going on. The strange creature wrapped in bandages let out a violent growl, and the yellow bandages on its body fell off inch by inch and were instantly submerged by the darkness under its feet. The distorted flesh and blood were tumbling crazily, tentacles protruded out one after another, frantically beating the darkness around them. The pregnant woman with a big belly drooped her face strangely and let out a shrill sob. The weird baby in her stomach opened its teeth and claws, as if it wanted to tear the deep darkness into pieces. The monk in the blood-stained robe folded his hands strangely, twisted a weird gesture, and murmured an upside-down spell, but his body was still plunged into darkness bit by bit. The surging and strange air is like a mountain roaring and a tsunami boiling endlessly. This moment, dozens of strange creatures are frantically mobilizing their own strange powers in an attempt to disperse this darkness. In other words, Nie Yan Luo is confronting all the weird parents in the classroom with his own strength, trying to drag them all into the dark hell and suppress them forcibly. This process, Gu Yuan was not involved. He just stood there silently. With cold eyes, he stared at the skeleton teacher on the podium from afar. With Nie Yan Luo's terrible horror and the power of ghosts, he can completely solve all the weird parents by himself. It just takes a little time. What Gu Yuan had to do was not to add bricks and tiles, but to stare at this strange skeleton in black silk. In case the skeleton suddenly strikes strangely and affects Nie Yan Luo's performance. After all, this skeleton is also very creepy and terrifying, and it is also a 5-star primary grade, no less than Nie Yan Luo. Once a spiritual attack is launched, it is possible to shake the ghosts. Mr. Skeleton stood on the podium. The blue will-o'-the-wisps in his eyes kept dancing. He took a step forward, as if wanting to stop. But after taking a look at Gu Yuan, he seemed a little hesitant. An instinct told him that if he did it now, he might face a thunderous blow from Gu Yuan. But this moment of hesitation just missed the best golden rescue time. A strange creature with only half of its body was dragged into the darkness by Nie Yan Luo, who directly suppressed it with the power of judgment. In the hell prison, standing in the center of darkness, a strange figure suddenly appeared. It looked like that strange creature with only half of its body, and the strange power flowing from Nie Yan Luo's body also got a weak strengthening quietly. This transformation of details did not escape Gu Yuan's eyes. Gu Yuan was slightly taken aback. Immediately, there was a look of surprise in his eyes. He realized the potential of hell ghosts. It seems that every time a strange creature is suppressed, the ghosts of hell will become more solid. Nie Yan Luo will also benefit accordingly. Judge the crimes of the heavens and punish the sins of the world. 18 floors of hell have evolved, and the detention is all kinds of strange. This is the mysterious power held by Nie Yan Luo. This means that besides devouring weird puzzles and curse props, Nie Yan Luo has another way to increase the level of terror. He will follow Gu Yuan and become the nightmare of countless strange creatures step by step. As for the situation in the classroom, this transformation has also completely overturned the original delicate balance. Creeps are weaker. Nie Yan Luo is stronger. One ebbs and another. It is the defeat of the army. Soon, the second weird creature, the third weird creature, all the weird parents, together with those weird little boys and girls, were all forcibly imprisoned in hell. They were trapped in the prison, unable to break free, unable to escape, and could only let out a low growl of infinite anger and fear. In the huge 4-year, 4-class classroom. Only the weird teacher skeleton is left, and the weird family of Gu Yuan, the stall girl and Nanai. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. He glanced at the skeleton strangely. Teacher, I don't think there is any need to compare. The skeleton was strangely silent for a moment. Then the dry and hoarse voice came out again. Congratulations, you are the best parent at this parent meeting. The bloody screen of the horror game appeared immediately. Rows of distorted handwriting jumped up and down, shining with a mysterious luster. Oh, your brutal methods shocked all the weirdness. In this special parent meeting, you are the best parent you deserve. Perhaps, appearing in the same classroom as you is the greatest misfortune of these weirdnesses. Because you are a weirder existence than weird. The main objective and secondary objectives of the task have been achieved, and the task is being settled. Gu Yuan nodded slightly. He is very satisfied with this result. He didn't wait for the settlement reward of the task, and his cold eyes were directly locked on the strange body of the skeleton. Now that the task is done, then there is no need to be polite to this skeleton anymore. He has many questions. Maybe we can get some kind of answer from the strange body of this skeleton. Chapter 41. Gu Yuan is a down-to-earth activist. The moment an idea arises, around him, traces of primitive and mysterious chaotic mist filled the air. His own chaotic ghosts quietly unfolded at this moment. At the same time, evil and unchanging dragged the chains of seductive souls, and the strange right rear of the skeleton appeared. As for Nie Yan Luo, holding the seal of the bone seal and carrying the infernal hell on his back, he took big strides and approached the skeleton from the left side strangely. Follow his steps. The terrifying darkness also quickly spread forward, including the skeleton strangely. Trinity, hands-on at the same time. At this moment, Gu Yuan completely showed his fangs. This is the battle plan that Gu Yuan conceived long ago. The level of spooky horror is very high, and it is the scariest weird creature Gu Yuan has encountered so far. Even stronger than the previous ghost Fa Hai. Moreover, the skeleton has a strange identity and is a regular teacher in Fengqing No. 3 primary school, a very dangerous place. He has the home field advantage, so it is inevitable that there will be some special means. So, to avoid surprises, Gu Yuan directly mobilized all the strange powers he could display. The purpose is to instantly suppress the strangeness of the skeleton. As it turns out, this strategy works. The original chaotic mist, the terrifying dark hell, and the twisted ecstasy chains have built a terrifying coercion. Even the creepy skeleton with a level of terror at the 5-star level can't handle it at all. The bones of his lower body made a teeth-stinging creaking sound. One after another hideous cracks emerged, crawling like spider webs. Boom! His thigh bones were completely shattered, turning into pieces of bone debris, flying all over the sky like paper money. The remaining half of his body fell to the ground. The skull raised up. The two will-o'-the-wisps in the eye sockets danced crazily, exuding extreme madness and tyranny. If possible, he would wish to use the cruelest and coldest way to tear this human being in front of him into pieces. Gu Yuan's eyes were cold, and he didn't care about the strange malice of the skeleton. He took a step forward, shook out the blue-black horror test paper before, and asked coldly, I know that a high-level weird creature like you already has a certain amount of wisdom and can communicate normally. Tell me, where did this test paper come from? The skeleton stared at Gu Yuan strangely, did not speak. Gu Yuan winked. On the side, the black robe of evil impermanence trembled. The thick chain of ecstasy swept out like a poisonous dragon in an instant, and directly hit the strange back of the skeleton with a snap. Immediately, a black mark appeared on Sinbai's bones. Even for crazy weird creatures, this is also a terrible torture. The will-o'-the-wisps in the skull's weird eye sockets jumped more violently and let out a painful and mournful howl. Gu Yuan stared at him coldly. There was no pity in his eyes. These weird creatures are all of one virtue. Crazy and distorted existences like them can only be made to bow their heads by using the cruelest and most tyrannical methods. I'll ask you one last time. Tell me, where did this test paper come from? The skeleton roared strangely. That's the great revelation. That's the eternal truth. That's the unbroken truth. He crossed the river that never existed, came from the other side, and sent the beginning of this enlightenment. The voice was twisted and sinister. The tone is filled with a very strange piety and fanaticism. It's like the purest believer, making some kind of praise and praise from the soul. And while reciting this mysterious prayer, strange symbols also appeared on the strange body of the skeleton. His skeleton melted and dilapidated at a speed that can be seen with the naked eye. It was as if he had touched some kind of terrifying taboo, and now it was about to be erased. Soon, this terrifying 5-star junior skeleton turned into a pile of ashes. Only his weird puzzle remains. It was a gray bone, riddled with tooth marks, and of an unfathomable length. This is not a bone that a person can grow. Weird gray bones. Level: 5-star weird puzzle. Introduction. This is the remains of an unknown creature, and there seems to be some kind of special curse left on it. You see, the owner of that tooth mark will find you one day, tear you up and eat you. Yuan frowned. Put away this spooky 5-star puzzle. His eyes were fixed on the strange ashes of the skeleton. I was a little lost for a while. He cares more about the unknown truth than the weird puzzle. In his mind, the prayers that the skeleton chanted before dying were constantly echoing. What exactly does this prayer mean? Great revelation? Eternal truth? Unbroken truth? He crossed the river that never existed, came from the other side, and sent the beginning of this enlightenment? Who is he? What is the river that never existed? Etc. A stern light flashed in Yuan's eyes. He caught a familiar vocabulary. The other side. It's the other side again. In the Drum Tower Theater before, when Sujin was about to disappear, she said that he would wait on the other side. And now, in the strange prayer of the skeleton, the other side is mentioned again. Could this be a coincidence? Or, is this a kind of inevitability? Sujin came from the other side. This terrifying test paper also came from the other side? An instinct told Yuan. Find the other shore, go to the other shore. There, he may be able to solve most of the doubts in his heart. Chapter 42. While Yuan was meditating, the bloody screen of the horror game reappeared. You have successfully completed the task tonight. Mission reward settlement. You got a 4-star weird jigsaw puzzle blood-stained wooden vertebrae. You have obtained a 4-star curse prop, a white paper lantern. You have obtained the broken wreath of the 4-star weird puzzle. You got the broken coffin bar of the 4-star weird puzzle. You got the 4-star cursed prop ghost cigarette. Yuan came back to his senses and suppressed the confusion in his heart. He is still too small now. Even if one touches the tip of the iceberg of the truth of the world, it is impossible to get a glimpse of the whole picture. The most urgent task is to improve one's own strength as soon as possible. When standing on the highest point in the world, all the truth will be completely displayed in front of you without any cover. He lowered his head slightly and began to count the gains this time. Count the task rewards for this wave of settlement. He got a 5-star spooky jigsaw puzzle, spooky gray bones. 4 4-star weird jigsaw puzzles, ghost hands, blood-stained wooden vertebrae, broken wreaths, and broken coffin poles. 2 4-star curse props, white paper lanterns, ghost cigarettes, several low-level weird puzzles, and a weird test paper of unknown material. It can be said that the harvest is extremely huge. Taking it out is enough to make countless human players jealous. Even for those long-established trickster organizations, their treasuries may not be comparable to the resources possessed by Yuan alone. This bone should be kept, just like the previous Buddhist wand, as the material for the next dark myth. This kind of 5-star material is a rare item, and it's hard to find at all. This 4-star curse prop, white paper lantern. Well, maybe it can come in handy in some special occasions, so it's best to keep it. Yuan's gaze was fixed on a strange lantern. This lantern is a skeleton woven from hemp rods, pasted with that kind of very poor quality and rough white hemp paper. An inauguration word was written on it, which seemed very unlucky. In ancient times, this is a lantern specially used for mourning. And what concerned Yuan the most? It is the function of this white paper lantern. According to the introduction of the bloody screen, as long as this lantern is lit, it will attract strange creatures from the surrounding area. This attraction will last until the lamp oil runs out. In some specific situations, this white paper lantern is a magic weapon, which can produce unexpected effects. As for other things, let's use them all to feed the impermanence. With so many resources, it should be enough to raise the horror level of evil and impermanence to 5 stars. In this way, my comprehensive strength will also get a qualitative leap. Yuan secretly calculated, and at this moment, the ground suddenly shook strangely. An inexplicable, ominous premonition floated in Yuan's heart. Yuan frowned, looked up and looked around. Only then did he realize that when he hadn't noticed, this originally peaceful 4-year, 4-class classroom has undergone an extremely terrifying and frightening transformation. On the wall, There are thick and strange blood vessels arching, criss-crossed, weaving into a dense network. The cyan blood, like a great river, is rushing in the blood vessels endlessly. Faintly, I could still hear heartbeats like drums of war. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of the heartbeat presents a strange rhythm, which makes people's breathing tighten uncontrollably, and their head hurts sharply, as if it will explode in the next moment. On the windows on all sides, the black pupils were reflected, flashing a ferocious light. It seems that there are many unknown strange creatures, sticking their faces to the glass, peering at Yuan coldly. This picture is like this four-class classroom, which is no longer a dead thing made of reinforced concrete, but a living, weird creature, a truly great terror. And Yuan is now in the body of this strange creature. Oops. Yuan frowned. He felt a great danger. This is a kind of creepy horror that makes the hair stand on end. Even if the previous skeletons were 10 times more creepy and terrifying, they still couldn't compare with this classroom. The bloody screen of the horror game flickered. The distorted handwriting spread across the screen at an extremely fast speed. Oh, you are so courageous that you forced to death a teacher in Fengqing No. 3 primary school. Do you know what this means? Pious prayers have attracted a terrible curse, and the place of great evil has been shaken, and weird changes have taken place as a result, and a terrible crisis will come. Mediocre people will be wiped out in this crisis. Only the most outstanding existence can find the only way to survive in the chaos and despair. Are you the child god who died young? Or that unshakable brilliance? Yuan glanced at the screen. It was immediately clear in my heart. It turned out to be like this. The strange identity of the skeleton is unusual. He is the regular teacher of Fengqing No. 3 primary school, and he is inextricably linked with this murderous place. His death also caused a chain reaction in this murderous place. Coupled with the crazy prayers of the skeleton before its strange death, it also had a very special impact. Under the combination of the two, then this terrible mutation was brewed. However, even in the face of such a crisis, Yuan didn't panic too much and still maintained a high degree of calmness. The hint of a horror game is obvious. Although this mutation is terrifying, but it's not completely hopeless. In despair, there is still a way out. It's just that you need to explore. And outside the 4-year Class 4 classrooms, Fengqing No. 3 primary school, which was originally pitch black, suddenly became brightly lit. It's just that this kind of light is not a normal light. Instead, it presents a frightening scarlet color. The locust trees planted in the campus withered and died strangely in an instant. A stream of thick black smoke diffused from the dead trees, covering the entire campus in an instant. Faintly, as if it could be heard, there was a creepy cry, resounding in the black smoke. And this weird black smoke is still spreading outward. Within the enveloping range, all the weird creatures and human players died suddenly. What the hell is the old man doing? At the school gate, the paper figurine watched this scene in horror. They didn't dare to stay at all. Picked up the coffin and ran away. Chapter 43. Fengqing Safety Zone. Although the action failed, but Xiao Qinghua was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, they stayed and guarded the Fengqing Safety Zone, waiting for further instructions from the headquarters. And at this moment, a strange and sharp cheer sounded. Hey, 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 something happened, dead person. Something happened, dead person. It sounds like a naughty child, clapping and jumping, happily delivering a special message. However, the content of these words is full of extremely ominous meaning. Hear this voice. Xiao Qinghua's expression changed drastically. He suddenly stood up. His eyes were extremely solemn, and he took 3 steps in parallel and rushed towards the source of the sound. Soon, he came to a special room. The room was empty, with nothing but an old-fashioned gramophone placed in the center of the room. At this moment, on the phonograph, there is an imaginary ghost baby with a green face and fangs running. That weird cheering sound came from the friction between the ghost baby's limbs and the phonograph. How so? Xiao Qinghua frowned, his face solemn. The phonograph in front of him is actually a special curse prop. He has no other effect, only one function, and that is to monitor the situation of a murderous place within a city. Once there is an abnormality in the place of great evil, he will immediately issue an alarm. Now, the cursing phonograph is running spontaneously, which means that something is out of control in a dangerous place in Fengqing. Footsteps sounded. Xia Qingzhu, Achio and the others also heard the sirens and hurried over. First, the number of places of great evil increased at a strange rate. And then there was that terrifying, mysterious man again. Followed by that, the fierce place lost control again. Bad things happen one after another. What kind of Tai Sui god did Fengcheng provoke? Achio's face was extremely ugly, turning blue and white. The other members of the Night Watchman team also nodded silently. Their moods are exactly the same as Achio's. Exactly the same. The water in Fengcheng is too deep, even more exaggerated than the imperial capital. Xiao Qinghua frowned and turned to look at Xia Qingzhu, who was aside. Director Xia, what is wrong with the most dangerous place? Have you found out? Xia Qingzhu didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly replied in a deep voice. Captain Xiao, there are already signs. It's Fengcheng No. 3 primary school. For some reason, there has been an extremely strange change. There is horrible black smoke coming out of the school. The human players covered by the black smoke have all lost contact and are suspected to be dead. Xiao Qinghua pondered for a moment, then take a deep breath. A resolute look flashed across his eyes, as if he had made some kind of determination. The consequences of going out of control in the fierce place are immeasurable. Let's set off immediately and rush to the vicinity of Fengcheng No. 3 primary school to conduct strict monitoring on the spot. Once the situation is out of control, immediately evacuate the surrounding human players. If there is a last resort, he paused slightly, then spoke sharply. Then immediately organize the evacuation of the entire Fengcheng human players. Fengcheng give up? Everyone's heart trembled. Give up Fengcheng? Xiao Qinghua actually made such a plan? Is this the out-of-control terror of the great murderland? A desperate disaster? Now, Fengcheng No. 3 primary school. 4-year 4-class classroom. The entire classroom was distorted, making extremely dangerous humming. The terrible black smoke had penetrated through the window. There was no room for resistance from the stall girl and Nan Nan. Directly under the erosion of black smoke, it turned into a puddle of foul-smelling pus. However, the machete, which was 1 person tall, was not damaged and fell to the ground with a clang. Yuan stood in the center of the classroom. His eyes were serious, his thoughts turned, and he quickly thought of a way to break the situation. Thriller games don't aim for nothing. In a desperate situation, there must be additional ways of survival. It should be something I have that can be used to deal with this crisis, Yuan muttered to himself. With a thought, he quickly took stock of all the assets he had. Sudden, he fixed his eyes and locked on the 2 copper coins covered with green patina. This is a weird puzzle looted from Chanhan. Ghost coins. To a certain extent, it has the power of divination and divination. Since Chanhan can use this thing to peep into the past and future, then Yuan can do it too. Perhaps this is the way out. With this in mind, Yuan grabbed the ghost copper coin without hesitation. A strange force poured into it. The 2 ghost copper coins immediately spun at high speed. Somewhere, Yuan seemed to feel that his soul had a very strange connection with these 2 ghost coins. He seems to be possessed by a supreme and terrifying body, overlooking the endless river of time rushing under his feet. Every drop of water symbolizes a hero or a ferocious and strange animal. In other words, the immeasurable heroes, the innumerable ferocious and strange, gathered into this vast and endless river of time. This moment, he saw countless timelines and countless possibilities, coming from the boundless universe, ending here and returning to the only one. He glimpsed a piece of the future. Chapter 44. I see, Yuan muttered to himself. Through brief foreknowledge of the future, he knew what to do, so that he could tear out a way out in despair. Close your eyes. That extremely weird connection was cut off immediately. In the palm of his hand, the 2 ghost copper coins stopped spinning in an instant. Yuan slowly opened his eyes and looked down at the palm of his hand. 2 scars have appeared there. Outer circle and inner square. It was left by ghost copper coins. Or more precisely, it was left behind by the supreme terror contacted through ghost copper coin. This kind of hasty attachment and prying is an untouchable taboo, and a price must be paid. Of course, this is also because Yuan's current strength is still a bit too weak compared with those supreme beings. When Yuan really grows up in the future, he will naturally be able to overlook the long river of time without any cost. In just a short moment, these 2 ghost copper coins have already sucked a lot of my blood. If the snooping time is longer, I'm afraid it won't be the price of 2 scars, and I probably won't be able to keep this arm. It seems that the strange power of these 2 ghost copper coins should be used with caution in the future. However, What is the identity of that supreme terror overlooking the long river of time? What is the relationship between this ghost copper coin and that supreme terror? Yuan raised his eyebrows. This attempt made him understand many things, but at the same time, it also made him have some new doubts. There was a moment of silence. Yuan suppressed these trivial thoughts and began to look at this mutated four-class classroom. The most urgent thing is to get out of here quickly. According to the future glimpsed by the ghost copper coin, there is only one way for me to escape from here. That is to use enough resources to push the horror of impermanence to 5 stars and evolve new ghosts and creatures. Then the ghosts and creatures merge to create an unprecedented triple ghosts and creatures. Finally, concentrate the power of the triple ghosts to attack the weak points of this fierce place, forcibly suppress the loss of control of the deadly place, and open a passage. Yuan recalled the method, and after making sure that there was nothing missing, he suddenly raised his hand. In addition to the white paper lanterns, all the 4-star weird materials obtained this trip, as well as those low-level weird things, all appeared in front of him. Among them, it also includes the machete that the daughter left behind. This is also a 4-star cursed item with the ability to dismember strange creatures. For you. Yuan waved again. These hundreds of strange things all flew in front of Shi Wuchang. Evil impermanence did not hesitate, and directly began to devour it crazily, absorbing this strange aura that was as deep as the sea. His level of terror also increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. 4-star advanced. 4-star top. Then there is the 5-star junior. He stepped into a whole new weird realm. In terms of horror, it has already achieved parity with Nie Yan Luo. Moreover, he has successfully further derived his own ghosts. It's different from Nie Yan Luo. His ghosts are gray. In the midst of this hopeless gray, there is a yellow river flowing continuously. In the river, from time to time, blue and black ghost hands would stretch out, swinging wildly, as if they wanted to catch something, but they couldn't catch anything, desperate and helpless. This is Underworld. Yin and Yang are separated here, and the undead are lost here. This is a terrifying river that runs through life and death. Evil impermanence is dragging the chains of ecstasy, standing by the bank of Huangquan River, lonely and terrifying. Is it a ghost in Huangquan? Very good. Yuan nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, the whole body was filled with the primitive and mysterious chaotic mist. Chaos ghosts quietly opened. At the same time, Nie Yan Luo also released his own hell ghosts. Dead darkness seeped in. 3 completely different ghosts and creatures collided together, and there was no such fierce and terrifying mutual erosion. Instead, under the traction of the chaotic mist, a strange fusion occurred, forming a delicate balance. Chaos bears everything, and the underworld flows into hell. A kind of triple ghost creature beyond the scope of everyone's comprehension was formed. This is an existence that is 100 times more terrifying than a single ghost. At this moment, Yuan's overall strength quietly made a qualitative leap. Everything is going well, and the next step is the last step. Tear here. The suppression is out of control. Yuan looked solemnly, turned his head leisurely, and looked at the blackboard in front of the classroom. There is the weak point. He took a deep breath, concentrated all his energy, and slowly compressed the triple mythical ghosts and creatures around him. From a surface to a line. This extreme compression is an accumulation of strange power. In order to burst out the most terrifying brilliant power when it collides with the fierce place. It's now. Yuan waved his finger forward. The highly compressed triple dark mythical ghost, with his movements, rushes forward. Like a high evil god, he waved his tentacles. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The stretched blood vessels on the classroom wall stopped beating. The suffocating weird heartbeat no longer sounded. The looming hideous pupils on the window glass widened, as if they had seen some extremely inconceivable horror scene. The blackboard is broken. The scarlet lights flickering in the teaching building were extinguished in an instant. The terrible black smoke that enveloped the campus was also torn open abruptly. The terrible loss of control in the place of great evil was forcibly suppressed at this moment. And there was dripping blood, dripping out from the black smoke, congealed on the ground, forming a puddle of blood that shone with strange light. This puddle of blood is still writhing. Each and every bubble bulges and shatters, as if there are countless weird things lurking in it, wanting to get out of the blood and come to the real world. Blood of great evil. Grade. 5-star weird puzzle. Introduction. The terrifying blood from the place of great evil contains huge negative emotions. Be careful. Don't be assimilated by this blood and become the kind of monster that only has the killing instinct left. Yuan was slightly taken aback. There was a look of surprise in his eyes. This harvest was a pure surprise. His attack not only broke through the shackles of the great ominous land, but also opened up a path. He even forcibly tore off a weird puzzle. Peace from the place of great evil? Chapter 45. Outside Fengqing No. 3 Primary School. 10 minutes ago. Xiao Qinghua, Qiu, Xia Qingzhu and others all rushed here. They all looked solemn. Their eyes were horrified, and they looked at the weird campus in front of them in shock. Is this the scene after the great ominous land got out of control? Just looking at it from a distance, I feel a little chilly all over, and my heartbeat is stagnant. It's hard to imagine what kind of horror you will encounter if you really enter here. Unknowingly, Akia's fair forehead was covered with fine cold sweat. Her voice was a little trembling. Obviously her mood was extremely disturbed, with ups and downs. Xia Qingzhu's face was very ugly. She clenched her fists and said in a hiss, "If you really go in, there is only one possibility, and that is death. I just sent people to inspect the surroundings, and there is no life, not even weird creatures. It seems that all the weird creatures around have died suddenly, and those weird creatures who are alive also subconsciously stay away from here because of some kind of instinctive fear." Everyone's face darkened. Logically speaking, the existence of strange creatures does not have much sense at all. When night falls, they will roam the streets and alleys of the city, appearing in every corner. It is impossible to disappear like now. This unusual sign can only prove one thing. That is the out-of-control fierce place in front of them, and its horror is far more terrifying than they expected. At first, they all felt that Xiao Qinghua's mention of abandoning Fengqing was a bit alarmist. But now it seems that it is no exaggeration. If the out-of-control state of Fengqing No. 3 Primary School continues, the terrifying black smoke will spread outward. The entire Fengqing will become a completely dead city. For a moment, everyone's mood became extremely heavy. "Captain, the price of giving up a city is too high. Is it possible to suppress the loss of control of this murderous place in some way?" A night watchman asked in a low voice. Xiao Qinghua smiled miserably, his eyes full of bitterness. According to the files of the headquarters, this kind of out-of-control situation has happened before. That time, the 4 night watchman squads were completely annihilated. The 3 veteran figures died without a place to bury them, and hundreds of cursed props were wiped out. However, even after paying such a heavy price, the out-of-control situation could not be controlled. "Do you think we can hold it down with just a few of us?" The previous trickster was speechless for a moment. No one spoke again. The audience fell into a powerless silence. They felt their own insignificance very clearly. In the face of such a terrifying spiritual disaster, they can do nothing but watch in despair. Time passed between minutes and seconds. Things didn't get any better. It seems that there is no hope. Prepare to organize the evacuation. Xiao Qinghua sighed, and just when he was about to turn around and leave, another member of the night watch suddenly exclaimed, "Captain, look!" Xiao Qinghua was slightly taken aback. Then he turned around quickly and looked towards the school. The terrifying Fengqing No. 3 Primary School suddenly underwent some special changes. All the scarlet lights were all extinguished at the same time. The terrifying black smoke entrenched, as if it had encountered some natural enemy. It split directly. There is a wide passageway, starting from the teaching building and going all the way to the outside of the school, like the blazing sun piercing through the clouds, bringing infinite light. Just like in the Bible, Moses parted the Red Sea to reveal the fertile land. What? How is this possible? Xiao Qinghua's eyes widened, his mouth opened, and his face was full of that kind of expression of disbelief. He stared blankly at the miraculous scene in front of him. Qiu, Xia Qingzhu and others all had the same expressions. Jaw-dropping, scalp numb. If you don't see it with your own eyes, then they couldn't believe that such a strange scene would appear in this gloomy and desperate place. Look! Someone came out. Everyone's eyes were all focused on the location of the teaching building. They can see. There was a tall man who walked out unhurriedly along this forcibly opened road. Behind the man, there is also a terrifying black-robed figure and a burly figure with 9 blood-red eyes following along. For the night watchmen like Xiao Qinghua, they are all too familiar with this combination in the distance. I will never forget it in my life. Yes, It's that mysterious man. He actually came out of the out-of-control place. This is outrageous. Xiao Qinghua stuttered, somewhat incoherent. The shock in my heart cannot be expressed in words. Achio on the side added with a hiss. No, not only did he come out, but he also suppressed the loss of control in the place of great evil. That's something that I can't do with half of the strength of the headquarters. Who the hell is he? Everyone can see clearly. Where Gu Yuan walked, the terrifying black smoke faded and disappeared slowly. It was as if being suppressed abruptly by an invisible force. When Gu Yuan walked out of the school, all the black smoke disappeared strangely. This Fengqing No. 3 primary school has also returned to its original appearance. Everything is back to normal, as if nothing had happened. It was very quiet. There were only gurgling sounds of swallowing saliva with difficulty. Everyone looked at each other and looked at each other, feeling as if they were in a dream. Until now, they still couldn't believe it. A terrifying crisis was actually eliminated so easily? Chapter 46. Gu Yuan's eyes were calm, and he glanced over these official people without stopping. These ordinary human players are no longer enough to arouse Gu Yuan's interest. He scanned the surrounding area, can't help frowning. Those paper figurines were weird and disappeared. With my deterrence, they dare not run away. Could it be dead? The murderous place was out of control, and the terrifying black smoke leaked out. All the strange creatures around, regardless of their strength, were all dead. Those paper figurines were weird, and in terms of horror, they were only 1 star at the lowest level. It seems normal to die in the mysterious black smoke, but Gu Yuan always felt that it was impossible. Although those paper figurines were very low in terror, they possessed extraordinary intelligence, and they had a sensitive instinct to avoid all kinds of dangers. It shouldn't be so easy to die. He hesitated a little. Gu Yuan raised his head and coughed lightly. I'll count to 3. If you don't show up, you will be at your own risk. The voice just fell. There was a dull jumping sound in the distance. The 5 paper figurines made of yellow paper were strange. Carrying the pitch-black coffin, they hurried to Gu Yuan's side. Master, we are here. Isn't there something wrong here just now? We avoided the limelight and didn't run away. The leading paper figurine was weird, with a stiff and strange smile on his face. He spoke in an extremely obsequious and humble way. I'm sorry you don't dare. Gu Yuan glanced at them coldly, and there seemed to be deep meaning in his eyes. As he expected, these paper figurines are really weird. In this special situation, it is still possible to survive. All of a sudden, Gu Yuan became more interested in the secret hidden behind them. I've been tossing all night. I'm tired. Take me back to Jinwan apartment to rest. Gu Yuan gave an order indifferently. The paper fiends immediately put down the coffin, lifted the lid respectfully, and waited for Gu Yuan to lie in. The other side. Xiao Qinghua was still in a state of absence. This incident brought him too much psychological impact. Achio poked him carefully and said in a low voice, Captain, didn't you say that we should establish a friendly relationship with this mysterious boss? I think now is a good opportunity. This mysterious boss is in a special situation. It is difficult for us to find his exact location. Once we miss this time, it will be even more difficult to contact him again. Only then did Xiao Qinghua come back to his senses. He nodded. You're right, this is an opportunity. Immediately afterwards, he wiped his face vigorously, took a deep breath, and then mustered up his courage, took big strides, and walked quickly towards Gu Yuan. Senior, please wait a moment. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Qinghua didn't know what to call Gu Yuan properly. Finally, he choked out a sentence of seniors. Heard the words. Gu Yuan turned around. He glanced at Xiao Qinghua coldly. However, just such a plain glance. Xiao Qinghua couldn't help feeling terrified. He felt as if he was being targeted by some extremely terrifying and weird creature. An unprecedented pressure lay in his heart. Even the barely maintained smile on his face froze. You know, he is one of the captains of the night watch at the headquarters. Even those veteran figures in the headquarters who are like Ding He Shenzhen have never brought him such a huge pressure. I remember you, Gu Yuan said coldly. The simple 4 words are like a huge boulder, and Xiao Qinghua is a little out of breath. Of course he understood what Gu Yuan meant. This is talking about the last air confrontation. Senior, last time it was a misunderstanding. At that time, we didn't know anything about our predecessors, so we adopted a very stupid way of probing. If we knew this earlier, we would never dare to offend Senior no matter what. We, the Horror Affairs Department, hope to get along well with seniors, and also hope that seniors can give us a chance to make amends. Xiao Qinghua swallowed hard. Quickly organized the language. Gu Yuan's mouth curled into a meaningful smile. Apologize? How do you want to pay? Xiao Qinghua looked respectful, not daring to be slighted, and hurriedly replied. For a character like Senior, my level is not enough to communicate with Senior about deeper things. If possible, please leave a contact information, Senior. Our senior management of the Horror Affairs Department will prove our sincerity to seniors. This is where Xiao Qinghua's intelligence lies. He knew that with his own strength and identity, he was not worthy of having in-depth contact with Gu Yuan. Wanting to win over Gu Yuan is even more idiotic. Therefore, he chose to leave Gu Yuan's contact information to build a communication bridge between Gu Yuan and the headquarters. Let the higher-ups worry about the rest. Gu Yuan pondered for a moment. To be honest, he has no ill feeling towards the Horror Affairs Department. Judging from the information obtained from the World Channel, this official organization has been doing its best to deal with weird events and ensure the survival of ordinary human players. Even if the end comes and the order collapses, they are still glowing and glowing, lighting the torch to illuminate the way forward. Gu Yuan will not do this kind of thing, but he respects these people. On the other hand, 3 years ago, when the horror game was beta tested, the affairs department had already been established. So far, they must have accumulated a lot of resources and intelligence. Among these things, there may be some things that Gu Yuan needs. It is also good for Gu Yuan to establish a friendly relationship. Think here. Gu Yuan raised his hand. His fingertips were filled with mist, and he outlined a series of numbers. This is my phone number. Xiao Qinghua was overjoyed and hurriedly wrote it down. What's the senior's name? My surname is Gu. Gu Yuan answered coldly. Although it has been decided to establish a friendly relationship with the Horror Affairs Division, but he doesn't intend to reveal his real name hastily. This is a weird world. There is no guarantee that there will be some cursed props that can use their real names as a medium to launch strange attacks from a distance. He has always been cautious and never put himself in danger easily. My patience is limited, so you only have one chance to make this call. I hope you are ready to show your utmost sincerity before calling. Gu Yuan glanced at Xiao Qinghua and spoke indifferently. It's a knock, and it's a warning. Xiao Qinghua was stunned for a while. Mr. Gu, don't worry, I know the seriousness. Gu Yuan didn't say any more and directly stepped into the coffin. The weird paper figurines lifted him up, jumped stiffly, and disappeared at the end of the street. Chapter 47. Lying in a coffin. Gu Yuan is not idle. He raised his hand. In front of him, there were 3 strange objects of different shapes on display, and there was an extremely gloomy and cold aura surging. 5-star curse props, weird Buddhist staff. 5-star spooky jigsaw puzzle with spooky gray bones. 5-star weird jigsaw puzzle, murderous blood. These are extremely rare and rare strange things, and behind each of them, there is a huge danger lurking. There is enough material. It's also time for a new round of dark mythology. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Next moment, the environment around him changed quietly. It is no longer a dark and oppressive coffin. It's the incomparably primitive and mysterious mythical space. Here is the origin of everything, the sacred first place. Gu Yuan was suspended there. The endless air of chaos enveloped him and danced around him, as if the believer was worshipping the supreme God in his heart. In all directions, there are magnificent and strange voices ringing, like a hymn to the opening of heaven and earth. Gu Yuan raised his hand and waved lightly. The strange Buddhist staff immediately came to him. The Buddhist staff is as tall as a person, with strange patterns engraved on it, and there are many mysterious spherical protrusions at the end, like sarcomas. There is no Buddha's mercy at all, but it is full of indescribable evil spirits. Gu Yuan wiped it casually. Those hideous sarcomas disappeared immediately, replaced by distorted skull symbols. This is Gu Yuan's authority. In this mythical space, he is the only rule. Everything can be twisted and reshaped according to his will. Even a strange Buddhist wand with a grade as high as 5 stars cannot resist this most fundamental power. It's much more pleasing to the eye. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. Immediately, his face became serious, and he spoke in a deep voice. Chaos shakes, and heaven and earth resonate. In the infinite universe and the infinite world, there is an irreversible absolute order. At the moment when destiny ends, all the creatures in the heavens will usher in inevitable death. Their blood rushes from the myriad realms, gathering into an endless river of blood, flowing into the eternal abyss. After experiencing the scouring of endless years, a part of Nether Abyss quietly fell off and fell into the deep sea of blood. During hundreds of millions of years, the blood of endless creatures from all the heavens and myriad worlds. This primitive rock that originally belonged to the Nether Abyss began an indescribable transformation. He was born. With the true blood of hundreds of millions of souls, he can change infinitely. According to the eternal grace of the deep abyss, he can destroy all worlds. His real name is the Blood Prison Demon, Black Wukong. Following Gu Yuan's sentence is accompanied by a brilliant and mighty voice. The entire mythical space has undergone incomprehensible and terrifying changes. The piece of blood that came from the place of great evil, with a grade as high as 5 stars, was stretched to an immeasurable length in an instant, formed a real blood river. I don't know where it came from, and I don't know where it's going. The blood rushes and roars in it, surging with a terrifying power that shakes the world, like a giant beast that cannot be tamed. The other 2 5-star weird materials, the strange gray bones, and the weird Buddhist staff, all fell into the blood river. Endless blood wrapped around it, instantly forming a human-shaped phantom holding a stick. It looks thin, but exudes an extreme tyranny and ferocity, as if it has concentrated the negative emotions of the entire universe, which makes people daunting. He was naked from the upper body, and all the faces of people who were crying or laughing, happy or angry were imprinted on his skin, which was extremely weird. Congratulations! The third dark myth, fabricated successfully. You have created a new mythical monster. Based on the grade of the weird material itself and its fit with the dark mythology, the strength of this weird creature is 5-star top. Blood Prison Demon, Black Wukong, level of horror, 5-star top. Introduction. Born for destruction and killing, he is a terrifying demon god who can change everything. In the future, he can slaughter evil gods. 5-star top. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Below, the figure full of destruction and violence, facing Gu Yuan, half kneeled down with a plop. The fierce voice exploded. I will destroy all enemies for my lord. Gu Yuan nodded slightly. He could feel that Wukong Black was not only extremely terrifying, but also possessed ghosts. This may be the characteristic of mythical and weird creatures. In other strange creatures, extremely rare and special ghosts, but here in Gu Yuan, it is a standard for everyone. Show me your ghost. Goku Black didn't hesitate. He straightened up and raised the Buddhist staff in his hand high. Countless blood gushed out, forming a huge circle around Black Wukong. It was a ghost creature made entirely of blood. It's a miniature sea of blood. If it is a strange creature or a monster who is not strong enough, it is afraid that it will be corroded and assimilated in an instant when it is involved in the sea of blood and become a part of it. Very powerful. Gu Yuan was a little surprised. The horror shown by Black Wukong is even more terrifying than he expected. Then the next thing to do is to synchronize the strange power of Wukong Black. At the same time, find a way to integrate this sea of blood ghosts into my chaotic ghosts. The explosive power of the triple ghost creature has been verified, and it is enough to tear the blockade of the place of great evil. If the quadruple ghost creature can be realized, it will definitely be even more terrifying. Without hesitation, he did what he said and started to try directly. Chapter 48. Outside the coffin. The 5 paper figurines had weird expressions on their faces. In the eyes painted with cinnabar, there is a bit of human pain shining. The elder in the coffin quietly became tens of times heavier. It was so heavy that some of them couldn't straighten up. Originally, they carried the coffin and jumped around very easily. If you go at full speed, you can even cross the entire Fengqing within 10 minutes. But now, let alone cross Fengqing. Every time they jumped, it seemed like they were being tortured, and their steps were extremely heavy. There are cracks appearing on them. It seems a little overwhelmed, and it will be torn apart soon. And at this moment, there was a strange roar from the coffin. Wisps of misty air of chaos escaped. It quietly attached to the strange bodies of these paper figurines. It was an accident. It was the chi of chaos that Gu Yuan accidentally leaked out when he tried the quadruple combination of ghosts and creatures in the mythical space. To know, this chaotic atmosphere is the kind of primitive power that can create myths and weirdness. Has an unimaginable personality, although only a trace. But it also has an immeasurable effect on the weirdness of these paper figurines. Next moment, on the strange body of the paper figurine, hidden runes appeared one after another. These runes are like silk threads, forcibly stitching the paper man's weird body that is about to be broken together. Those cracks all disappeared invisible. The weird paper figurines just feel light and light all over, as if they have endless weird powers to use. This state is much stronger than before. They all looked surprised and looked at each other. This is a gift from the great master. My lord takes pity on us. Serve the good old man. We will get everything. A hoarse voice sounded one sentence after another. These weird paper figurines were extremely excited. At this moment, their emotions towards Gu Yuan also underwent a subtle change. If we say, it was just a deep fear of Gu Yuan's methods before. Now, in addition to being afraid, there is a little more respect and loyalty. The capital, headquarters of the horror division. In a confidential conference room, around the round conference table, 5 people sat in a circle. They are male and female, old and young. The only thing in common is that they all have an extremely terrifying and strange aura surging from their bodies. Apparently, they all mastered very powerful weird puzzles. Inside the Horror Affairs division, they have an awesome common title, Elder. This is the top job in the horror division. Without any exaggeration, every elder symbolizes a huge force. They have extremely huge energy. They can control the life and death of countless tricksters and shake the situation in an area. The gathering of the 5 veterans is the highest level meeting in the Horror Affairs Department, which can decide anything about the Horror Affairs Department. But at this moment, there was a dead silence in the conference room. These big men who could make the ground tremble 3 times by stomping their feet, all had dignified faces, serious eyes, and said nothing. He just stared at the screen in front of him. On the screen, there is a video. It was sent back by Xiao Qinghua, a record of the incident at Fengqing No. 3 Primary School. The lights in the terrifying campus were instantly extinguished, and an incomprehensible force abruptly tore a path through the black smoke. The riot in the place of great evil was forcibly suppressed. A man who couldn't see his face clearly walked out of the school unscathed with a calm demeanor. He didn't move extra, but inexplicably, the 5 elders felt a huge threat across the screen. Ahem. An elderly man with a somewhat stooped figure coughed lightly, breaking the silence. He is the elder Lu Jiangwo. Okay, don't watch it. The video has been played more than a dozen times, and I can't see the flowers again. What do you think, tell me? Elder Li Jiao frowned, tapping her fingertips rhythmically on the table. Those who are familiar with her will know. She would only make such an unconscious move when she was extremely nervous. Things are already clear. This man surnamed Gu, with his own strength, forcibly suppressed the loss of control in the place of great evil. We all know what this means. This is no different from the previous civilized society. Someone abruptly pulled back the derailed locomotive. I can't do this kind of thing, and neither can you. Perhaps there is still a possibility for the few of us to join forces, but the casualties are hard to say. The eyes of the other elders all dimmed. They have experience with this kind of thing. No one knows better than them how terrifying it is to lose control of a murderous place. The last time something similar happened, the Department of Horror Affairs lost 3 elders and 4 night watchman squads, but they failed to curb the deterioration of the situation. The once fierce place has become a forbidden area for human beings covering thousands of miles. He has gone farther than us on the road of controlling strange power. Such people can only be wooed, not offended. Xiao Qinghua did a good job. He got Mr. Gu's contact information. This is a good start. If we can establish a friendly relationship with Mr. Gu, or even bring Mr. Gu into our Horror Affairs department, it will definitely be a good thing for us. Elder Peng Wanchuan's voice was low. Another veteran, Chun Jinka, suddenly slapped the table and stood up. He is tall, with big arms and round waist, and has always been impatient. Then what are you waiting for? Didn't Xiao Qinghua get the contact information? Call Mr. Gu now. Nonsense. Elder Li Jiao directly rejected Chen Jinka's proposal. This matter must not be hasty. Didn't you read Xiao Qinghua's report? Mr. Gu said that he has no patience. We only have one chance to call. Mr. Gu's identity deserves our highest etiquette. I suggest that one of the elders be selected, take a special plane with a gift, and fly to Fengqing in person, call and ask Mr. Gu out, and have a chat with Mr. Gu face to face. This is more sincere. Elder Lu Jiangwo pondered for a moment, took a deep breath, and said, since you have to show enough sincerity, then simply do it to the end. One elder is not enough. Why don't the 5 of us all set off and go to Fengqing? Heard the words. The other elders were stunned. 5 elders dispatched together? Just to convey goodwill? This is unprecedented. No one who has ever been able to have such an honor. But on second thought, This may be the most appropriate way, no matter how grand the treatment of a terrifying strongman who can suppress the out-of-control of the great evil place is no exaggeration. Agree. Agree. Soon, everyone quickly voted and passed unanimously. Then next, let's discuss carefully, what kind of meeting gift should we bring to Fengqing this time? This meeting gift must not be thin. It must be rich enough. This is the face of our horror affairs department. Besides, Xiao Qinghua's actions before offended Mr. Gu to a certain extent. This meeting ceremony also expresses the sincerity of apologizing. Chapter 49. Golden Bay Apartments. The pitch-black coffin was quietly placed in the center of the room. The 5 paper figurines were weird. They didn't dare to breathe and waited cautiously around the coffin. They didn't know why Gu Yuan didn't come out of the coffin. They only know that before the Elder Master makes any new moves, they must wait here respectfully, waiting for orders at any time. Time passed between minutes and seconds. The coffin lid, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly vibrated open. Gu Yuan sat up. There was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. The superposition of ghosts and mythical beings is an almost taboo behavior. With each additional layer, its complexity will increase exponentially. Constructing the quadruple ghosts really consumed a lot of Gu Yuan's mind. Although it took a long time, the effort was worth it. I have successfully explored the perfect state of superposition of 4 ghosts. Gu Yuan muttered to himself. Gently raise your hand. The surrounding scene changed drastically in an instant. The chaotic mist diffused out, becoming the foundation and source of everything. Above the chaos, there is a gloomy and strange yellow spring. It does not know where it came from, and it rushes all the way into the terrifying hell. And in hell, there are groups of wailing and crying. Accepting cruel punishments, strands of blood flowed from their bodies, gathering into a violent sea of blood. Chaos, hell, sea of blood. For different elements influence each other and support each other, forming an extremely delicate balance. This is the quadruple dark mythical ghost crafted by Gu Yuan. He himself was sitting in the center of the ghost. His expression was neither sad nor happy. He suddenly looked like the supreme and weird emperor who symbolized the fundamental truth. An indescribable, terrifying coercion emanated from him. The 5 paper figurines' scalps felt weird. They didn't dare to look directly at them. They just knelt and kowtowed. Not just them. With Jin Yuan apartment as the center, it radiates out for 30 miles. The weird creatures wandering around seemed to have sensed something, and they all prostrated themselves on the ground in fear. Like a pilgrimage, the superposition of 4 layers of dark mythical ghosts and creatures not only achieves a surge in power, but also its coverage seems to have received a terrifying blessing. I just don't know, how far can this range go? Gu Yuan didn't care about the reactions of these weird creatures. He just felt the power of ghosts seriously. Immediately, there was no hesitation in his mind. Start manipulating ghosts and monsters and explore your own limits. This terrifying quadruple dark mythological ghost immediately spread and expanded wildly in all directions with an unstoppable attitude. In the blink of an eye, the entire Jin Yuan apartment was enveloped. Then there is the entire Jin Yuan community. And then there's the entire Fengqing. That's right. His ghosts covered a city. The streets and alleys of Fengqing have been filled with fog. Only a few places, such as the Drum Tower Theater, Fengqing No. 3 Primary School, Tongda Hotel, King Fengwen, etc., are independent of the fog, shining with a cold and strange light. The place of great evil seems to have some kind of strange power. My dark mythical ghosts cannot be invaded from the outside for the time being. Perhaps in the future, when 5 layers of ghosts and creatures are built, or a higher level combination, the invasion of ghosts and creatures will be realized. Gu Yuan whispered to himself. Through this trial, he has a deeper understanding of the existence of these fierce places. And apart from the place of great evil, other places can't stop my ghosts at all. Gu Yuan closed his eyes. He doesn't need to see with the naked eye. Every inch of mist in the ghostly creature is his eyes. In the dark, Gu Yuan saw Xiao Qinghua, Xia Qingzhu, all kinds of human players, and countless strange creatures with strange shapes. A child witnessed with his own eyes that his parents were murdered strangely. In order to survive, some women betrayed their husbands and threw themselves into the embrace of a more powerful one to seek asylum. There are monsters who unite together to hunt and kill weird creatures, but they turn against each other because of the ownership of the weird puzzle. It's a very wonderful feeling. It's like the perspective of God from above. Within the range of ghosts and creatures, Nothing can escape Gu Yuan's peeping. He is the god who sees everything. In an alley in Fengqing, after separating from Gu Yuan, Xiao Qinghua was not in a hurry to return to the safe zone. Instead, he wandered around at will, wanting to hunt and kill some strange creatures. Suddenly, he shuddered for no reason, and a sense of horror surged all over his body. It was as if he was being targeted by some extremely terrifying existence. "What's the situation?" he exclaimed, and a green will-o'-the-wisp appeared in his palm. His eyes were alert, his whole body was tense, and he scanned his surroundings subconsciously. At some point, the surrounding area was already shrouded in an extremely weird mist. He had seen this kind of fog before. When Gu Yuan painted the mobile phone number, what he released was this kind of weird mist. This kind of fog. Could it be that Mr. Gu wants to kill me? No, it's impossible. With Mr. Gu's terror, if he wants to get rid of me, there's no need to hide his head and show his tail. One finger is enough to crush me to death. Xiao Qinghua was a little frightened at first, but soon calmed down. He hesitated for a moment, took out the satellite phone he carried with him, and quickly sent a message to other members of the Night Watchman. "Where are you now? Are you safe? Is there anything unusual?" Soon, the screen lit up, and it was the reply from other team members. "Report to the captain. I am on 6th Avenue, and there is a weird fog around me. Captain, I'm in Chenglin Street, temporarily safe, but an unknown fog suddenly appears. Don't worry, Team Xiao. There is a special fog near the garden building. I can't tell the direction now." Xiao Qinghua stared blankly at these replies. For a while, I just felt a chill on my back. It was as if there was an indescribable chill, rising from the soles of the feet, going up the spine, and heading straight to the sky. 6th Avenue, Chenglin Street, Garden Building, these places are not together. The farthest apart, even one is in the east of Fengqing, and the other is in the west of Fengqing. But in these places, at the same time, mist suspected to come from Mr. Gu appeared at the same time. What is this concept? This means that Mr. Gu's special behavior has unknowingly affected the entire city. What a terrifying and strange power this is. Google. Xiao Qinghua swallowed hard. The mood is extremely complicated, even a little numb. At this moment, he felt that his choice was extremely correct. We should find a way to maintain a friendly relationship with Mr. Gu. It is an extremely stupid behavior to be an enemy of such a terrifying figure. Chapter 50. This feeling of insight into everything is really fascinating. 4th layer of dark mythical ghosts can already cover the city. What about 5th and 6th layers? How terrifying can it be? Following this path, one day, I will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with those supreme evil gods, and even surpass them. Gu Yuan muttered to himself, his eyes sharp. Through this experiment, he was extremely confident. The path I'm on is correct. This is the real path of supremacy, the path of detachment. He thought again. The chaotic mist subsided quietly. Quadruple dark mythical ghosts and creatures are certainly powerful. But to maintain the ghost beast, the consumption required to pay is also quite terrifying. Now that the limit has been tested, there is no need to continue. The Elder Master is wise and mighty. With the highest divinity, it is our blessing to be able to serve the Elder Master. The paper figurine kowtowed and bowed strangely, with a flattering expression, flattering frantically. It's like the kind of eunuch next to the emperor, who doesn't hesitate to praise him. Gu Yuan lowered his head calmly, his eyes swept over them. His brows furrowed slightly. Previously, all the attention was on the ghosts, and I didn't observe the weirdness of these paper figurines. Now that I am free, I realize that they seem to be different. Compared with before, they have more strange runes on their bodies. The level of terror has not increased, but it seems to have some very special powers. He hadn't finished speaking. These paper figurines are weird, and they are scrambling to kowtow again, with extremely respectful eyes. This is all thanks to the Great Master. It is the gift of the Great Master that we can have such good fortune. Praise the Great Master, praise the Great Master. Hearing their descriptions in a hurry, only then did Gu Yuan understand. The aura of chaos that I inadvertently released, combined with the weirdness of these paper figurines, did any special changes occur? The meaning of the existence of the mythical space is to turn rotten things into wonders, touch stones into gold, forcibly knead originally irrelevant weird materials, and endow them with mysterious authority and personality. Could it be that this transformation effect of turning corruption into wonder also has an effect on ordinary weirdness? Yuan calculated silently in his heart, and there was a little more meaning in his eyes. He suddenly discovered that he still seemed to have a lot of unexplored places about the power of this dark myth. If you encounter a suitable opportunity in the future, you can try it in depth. It's daybreak. The black sun shines on the world. The weird creatures disappeared without a trace. Many treacherous masters were exhausted and dragged their tired bodies back to their residences to rest. And somewhere in a building, a tall, thin woman with a yellow and haggard face stood here quietly. She is from Haiqing and is a core member of the non-governmental organization of seductresses, the Demon Society. Hang Ghost, Fan Shilian, and in her palm, she held a photo. In the photo, there is a man whose face cannot be seen clearly. The glamorous and charming Gue Suzhen stuffed something like a red handkerchief into the man's hand. It's like the kind of young girl who is full of spring, presenting an exquisite token of love to her lover. This time the boss gave the order to die. No matter what the price is, he must get the red human skin from this guy. Fan Shilian spoke softly. Her voice was a little hoarse. The shadow behind him squirmed strangely, revealing a human face, and said in a muffled voice, "President Fan, this guy is a bit weird. Except for the post in the World Channel, we can't find any information about him. I can't even find out what he looks like. Even those who have watched the Ghost show can't accurately describe the appearance of this guy. The only information that can be confirmed now is that he will be carried by a paper doll when he travels, and he will be accompanied by two strange creatures, one with a black robe and one with red eyes. In the absence of this kind of information, if we want to find this guy, we may have to use the most stupid way." Fan Shilian was slightly taken aback. After a moment of hesitation, she took off her backpack and took out a toy castle. A mysterious and unspeakable cold atmosphere lingered above the castle, lingering. Obviously, this is no ordinary toy. It's a very mysterious and special cursed item. Fan Shilian solemnly placed the toy castle on the ground. Then he pulled out a dagger and slashed fiercely at his fingertips, cutting a hole. Drop after drop of blood fell, staining the roof of the castle scarlet. This is like a very weird and evil ritual. It was as if he was using his own blood to feed an invisible ghost. After a while, it seems to have sucked enough blood. The gate of the toy castle suddenly opened. Then, one after another, the toy soldiers walked out of the castle with neat steps. Seems endless. In the blink of an eye, a dense square line was formed. It's hard to believe how such a small castle can accommodate so many toy soldiers. Every toy soldier is deformed. Some are missing arms, some are missing legs, and some are even without heads. Fan Shilian's face was pale, and she lost a lot of blood. She braced herself and spoke in a hiss. "Spread out, go to the streets and alleys of Fengqing, and look for a coffin carried by a paper man." These toy soldiers seemed to have received some supreme order. All turned around in unison. Then, with stiff and comical steps, he left here. They will conduct an uninterrupted carpet search throughout Fengqing until they find the coffin that Fan Shilian needs.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.